Chapter 1559. Xianli told him what she had experienced in the space passage, and how she felt. Although he was dissatisfied and ridiculed them, he had always trusted his comrades in his previous life, and did not doubt them at all. Yu Yu listened carefully. He frowned and thought for a while. Then, he suddenly said, "Show me your sea of consciousness." Okay. Xianli nodded slightly. Then, she released all the restrictions on herself in front of him. A soul vortex the size of a fingernail appeared between her eyebrows. "Let me read it carefully." Yu Yu pointed a gray-white finger at Xianli's forehead. It went into the small soul vortex and reached the deepest part of Xianli's soul. As the first Howren to become a ghost god since ancient times, Yu Yu was almost the spokesperson of the Unveil. After Xianli released herself, he could easily see all the secrets that Xianli had hidden. Swoosh! Swoosh swoosh! From Yu Yu's fingertips, countless white electric lights flew out, spreading out in Xianli's sea of consciousness. Xianli's memories of 2 lives, the secret soul techniques she had learned, the cultivation methods and spiritual arts, some of her schemes, her experiences in outer space, and even the knowledge about the blood god were all displayed in front of Yu Yu. She didn't hide anything. Only Yu Yu, whom she trusted completely, allowed her to do this. But it didn't last long. Yu Yu retracted his finger. His indifferent face showed seriousness and confusion. Strange. What's missing is this part. Yu Yu muttered to himself. Before Xianli could ask, he spoke again, about the deity position, the origin of Howren, and the wonders of the earth core flame. How much do you know? Xianli shook her head blankly. Not at all. That's right. Yu Yu took a deep breath. He looked at his old friend and said, "Your main soul is missing a part. That missing corner hides the questions that I just asked you. You have reached the supreme level. You have a deity position. So, even though you have reincarnated, this part of your memory is still imprinted in your main soul. When you were awakened by me in outer space, this part of your memory was also awakened. You once used the deity position you condensed to accurately sense that thing. Besides that, I once told you about the profundities of that thing, yet you say you don't have any impression of it." Yu Yu dragged his voice as he said with certainty, "The small soul fragment that the unstable gate of the origin realm took from you contains memories about this. Is it stripping, not rubbing?" Xianli's face turned cold. "Yes, it's stripping, not copying," said Yu Shui. Xianli didn't say anything. As one of the former leaders of the Ghost Witch sect, she certainly understood the difference between the two. If it was a copy, it would only take away a part of his host soul's memory. To him, there was actually no substantial effect or harm. His soul was complete, but his memories had been copied. But if it was stripped away, the meaning would be completely different. If the host soul was seen as a magical painting, stripping meant tearing off a small piece of the scroll. This meant that his soul was currently incomplete. With an incomplete soul, what could he use to ascend to the highest position? If it was before, I wouldn't have been able to do anything if you were missing a small piece of your soul. But now I have a way to mend it for you and help you find the missing part of your memory." Yu Yu's voice was filled with pride. He raised his head slightly as if he was looking at a terrifying place. "It will be troublesome, and it will consume a lot of my power. But don't worry, if I can't give it to you, you can get it back from the gate of the origin realm. I promise to mend it for you. I promise it won't affect your attempt to ascend to the deity position." Yu Yu first dispelled his worries, then frowned in thought. From what Zuan, Han Yuan, and Yu Yuan had said, he realized how terrifying the god of the origin realm was. It was a strange being who used to live in the abyss. Not only did it have a powerful soul, but it also knew spatial arcane art. When Xianli was passing through the unstable gate of origin world, this alien had secretly stripped away this part of the memory of the remnant soul. If Xianli hadn't been wary of him and didn't completely trust him, she wouldn't have told him about this. She also wouldn't have allowed him to read her memories as he pleased in her soul. If that wasn't the case, no one would know that the secret hidden in the fragment of Xian Li's soul had something to do with Howren's deity position, the essence of the origin, and the thing beneath the flame of the earth core. He's exploring the underground of Howren. The origin of the deity position? Could it be that the god of the origin realm wants? Yu suddenly realized the seriousness of the matter. In the next moment, he used his power as the ruler of this terrifying place to forcefully communicate with Tian Song. Tell Tian Qi and the godly king of the Omega Ruins that Yu and Xian Li of the Ghost Shaman sect want to pay them a visit. Also, tell that Yan Qiling, who's well versed in spatial power, to be in the forbidden land of the fallen moon. He stated his intentions. A group of people was discussing what Lu could bring to the Shunhun sect after he ascended to godhood in the forbidden land of the fallen moon. They were still discussing the profound meaning of Taisher's arrangements. Tian Song shuddered slightly as he suddenly heard Yu's order, so he reported it immediately. Tian Qi, who was holding a knife and a fork and gorging himself on food, stopped eating and glanced at the godly king of the Omega Ruins in the stone pillar. He nodded and said, "You're welcome." On the other side, Yu Yuan's nether deity appeared on Medicine God Island in the Split Yen archipelago. Xianan, Yin Sweki, and many other medicine refiners who were well versed in medicine had gathered together. His original plan was being carried out. Looking at the dozens of sect disciples who were gathered by Xianan, who had low cultivation bases but seemed to be obsessed with medicine, Yu Yuan seemed to see himself in his previous life. There were many lush forests in the domain of Dark Wing, which were very suitable for growing spirit herbs. There were also dark spirits and Wenlu. With the addition of these alchemists, whose cultivation bases weren't high enough but were proficient in growing medicinal herbs, Yu Yuan believed that it wouldn't be long before Dark Wing blossomed everywhere. Exotic flowers, rare plants, and trees would appear in large numbers. Mature herbs and high-grade spiritual materials would be sent to the Thousand-Bird Realm or brought back to the Howren Realm for medicine refiners to refine high-quality pills. Everyone, if you're ready, will go to Heavenspan Island and then to the great desolate God Lake. His nether deity floated above Medicine God Island, looking at the expectant and uneasy people, and made his arrangements. Suddenly, he sensed something unusual from Yuanyang Island, which was not far away. "You can go there directly. I've arranged everything. There won't be any problems. Whether it's inside Howren or in outer space, you'll be able to go there unimpeded." After hurriedly leaving these words behind, his Yin spirit floated up and flew straight towards Yuanyang Island. Yu Yuan. The expressions of the cultivators on Yuanyang Island flickered slightly when they saw his nether deity. "I'm looking for Mo Baichuan," Yu Yuan said softly. "I know he's here." A middle-stage Sun Soul cultivator nodded with a complicated expression after hearing his words. He sighed and said, "Come with me." On the island, the arrogant cultivators who had called themselves superior sects all looked gloomy. They looked at Yu Yuan with some avoidance in their eyes. Li Tianxin was dead, and sect master Yuan Hao had died in outer space not long ago. Although they didn't know the inside story, they knew that the primal Yang sect was on its last legs. Without their supreme experts, the primal Yang sect had been reduced to a lesser sect. They didn't dare to imagine what would happen in the future. In the past, if Yu Yuan dared to come here with his nether deity when Yuan Hao and Li Tianxin were still here, they might have besieged him immediately. But now, on one hand the sect was weak. On the other hand, Yu Yuan was qualified to participate in the meeting, and he was invited by Han Shu Yuan. What did this mean? Therefore, the primal Yang sect cultivators on the island could only watch as Yu Yuan was led to a mountain peak on the island that trembled all day by the senior who was in charge of the island. At the bottom of the mountain, Old Bai Yu. As soon as Yu Yuan's nether deity came in and saw Mo Baichuan, He was speechless. It hadn't been long since Mo Baichuan left the heaven overlook mountain range. But in such a short time, he saw 9 strange holes in Mo Baichuan's body. The 9 acupoints that Mo Baichuan had opened originally contained the flame power of the sun's essence fire. But in his eyes, those 9 acupoints had now turned into 9 bloody holes near Mo Baichuan's lower dantian, where blood was constantly flowing. In Mo Baichuan's sea of consciousness there was also a very weak Selim soul. With his cultivation base, his Selim soul had long since transformed into a yang spirit. The appearance of his Selim soul in his sea of consciousness meant that his yang spirit had been shattered, and his Selim soul had reappeared. Mo Baichuan, who was about to reach the peak of the Freedom Realm, had fallen 2 realms in a short time and become a soul wander realm cultivator. Without his yang spirit, Mo Baichuan, who had become a soul wander realm cultivator, was undoubtedly a new nightmare for the primal yang sect. My yang spirit has been burned to ashes at the edge of the earth's core flame. Mo Baichuan, who was sitting upright, raised his head. There was no sadness on his face, and it was so calm that it was strange. It's good that you're not dead. Back then, I helped Xie Bin reforge his yang spirit. It should be easier for you. Old Bai, since you know it won't work and you've tried it yourself, why don't you give up on that path? Yu Yuan persuaded. No. Mo Baichuan shook his head. There was no fear on his face, and his eyes were still firm. I have a clue. When I reforge my yang spirit again, I will use earth fire to cast it. My defeat this time was because the materials used to cast my yang spirit all came from the crystallization of the sun's energy, which clearly conflicts with the earth's core flame. You should just forget about it. Yu Yuan smiled bitterly. Go back. I've made up my mind. It's useless for anyone to persuade me. Mo Baichuan drove him away. Is there anything I can help you with? Yu Yuan asked. Mo Baichuan wanted to say no, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he stopped. Then, after thinking seriously, he nodded and said, Yes. Chapter 1560. Mo Baichuan nodded and said, Yes, I do. Then, he frowned and fell into deep thought. Yu Yuan was surprised. He waited quietly for him to continue. But after half a day, Mo Baichuan was still deep in thought. With our relationship, you don't have to be so polite. When Yu Yuan's Yin spirit finally lost its patience, it took the initiative to say, Also, the primal yang sect is already in such a state. If you ask me to do something for you, I don't think Han Shuyuan will be dissatisfied. Li Tianxin was dead, and Yuan Hao was persuaded by Han Guiyuan to shatter his deity position. After Han Guiyuan returned from outer space, he warned Qin Luo so seriously and went to the Qiyang Empire. It showed that old Han, who felt guilty, would definitely protect the primal yang sect. In this situation, Boss Han wouldn't blame Mo Baichuan for his deep relationship with him. Yu Yuan thought that Mo Baichuan was worried about the 2 sides opposing camps. I'm not being polite. It's just that my thoughts are a bit messy. I suddenly can't remember something. Mo Baichuan looked confused. He shook his head, as if he wanted to shake off the confusion in his heart. Forget it. The more I think about things related to your master, the more confused I become. Maybe my son's spirit has just been burned to ashes, and my heavenly soul needs to be condensed again. As he spoke, the 9 holes in his lower abdomen stopped bleeding. He took out a bottle of pills and swallowed it in front of Yu Yuan. He immediately began to refine the medicinal power in it to heal his injuries as soon as possible. My master? Yu Yuan was stunned. The medicine god sect, your previous sect master. Mo Baichuan answered and said, What I wanted to say just now has something to do with him, but I find that my impression of him seems to be getting more and more vague. As soon as he said this, Yu Yuan was also a little dazed. He also suddenly found that with the increase of his realm, the increase of his combat strength, and the awakening of Zhongqichen, His impression of his master in his previous life had become quite vague. It seemed that he would always subconsciously ignore him and not think about his master. He had a deep impression of Zhong Qichen, Xiaonan, Chu Yao, Luo Yu, and the others. He also had a deep impression of them. However, when he thought of his master, there were only a few scattered images in his mind. Most of his memories seemed to be covered by a dense fog. He had not thought about it before, but now that Mo Baichuan had mentioned it, he could not help but think about it. In his previous life, his master had always cared for him and imparted him knowledge of pharmacology. Also, he felt that his master seemed to favor him more and did not particularly like Zhong Qichen. Can you show me your previous pill furnace, Flowing Flame? Mo Baichuan made a request. Lu Yen. Yu Yuan looked at Mo Baichuan with a strange look in his eyes. Flowing Flame's grade hasn't reached heaven grade, and it doesn't have an artifact soul. It's just an artifact used for refining pills. Why did you suddenly mention it? As he spoke, Yu Yuan's Yin spirit contacted his main body in the Great Swamp. At this moment, his Yang spirit was in the dragon beheading platform, refining the Kirin's heart. His main body was scattered beside the lake, watching Lu Lu in the lake, condensing the spiritual energy of the water, converging with the essence of the origin to create his own bloodline crystal. According to the desolate god, once he left the Great Swamp with the Kirin's heart, he would be targeted by the demonic phoenix and might lose the Kirin's heart. Therefore, he stayed in the Great Swamp and waited for the Kirin's heart to be refined before going out. Flowing Flame is in my main body's universe ring, and my main body is in the desolate god Great Swamp. If you really want to see it, I can arrange for Zhou Yu of the Chamber of Commerce to send it over, Yu Yuan said with his Yin spirit. Mo Baichuan, who was sitting, suddenly stood up and said, in that case, let Zhou Yu send Flowing Flame directly to the Medicine God sect. You help me arrange it. You and I will go directly to the headquarters of the Tongtian Trading Company through the formation of Tongtian Island, and then go directly to the Earth-Fire Mountain of your Medicine God sect. Earth-Fire Mountain. Yu Yuan's mind stirred. I am on Yuan Yang Island because my Yang spirit sneaked into the depths of the earth through the 9 frozen abyss not far from here. My Yang spirit was burned to ashes at the edge of the earth's core flame. But I found that from the Earth-Fire Mountain, there are some flames that have been weakened countless times but still contain the Earth Core flame. Mo Baichuan explained. I read the handbook left by the sect master and found that in the entire Howren, the Earth Core flame is the strongest in the Earth-Fire Mountain where the Medicine God sect is located. In addition to your Medicine God sect, the other place is the Red Devil School. I can't go to the Red Devil School, so I can only go to the Medicine God sect, and the Medicine God sect is indeed the best choice for me. As he spoke, Mo Baichuan, who had fallen to the Soul Wander realm, and Yu Yuan's Yin spirit, went to Tongtian Island together. On the other side, Zhou Yu, who was at the headquarters of the Tongtian Trading Company, went to the Great Lake from the Tongtian Trading Company after receiving his permission. When he arrived at the Great Lake, he soon saw Yu Yuan's body and got the pill furnace, Flowing Flame, that Mo Baichuan had asked for. A few hours later, in the Earth-Fire Mountain where the Medicine God sect was located, at the bottom of an extinct volcano that had long stopped spewing out earth fire, Yu Yuan and Mo Baichuan stood together on a crimson volcanic rock. Whoosh! Zhou Yu floated over, took out Flowing Flame, and placed it in front of the two. He bowed slightly to Mo Baichuan and respectfully called out, Mountain Lord Mo. Mo Baichuan was indifferent. Zhou Yu didn't care, knowing his character. Then he asked Yu Yuan, is there anything else? Yu Yuan shook his head and said, thank you for your hard work. It's a piece of cake. The chubby Zhou Yu chuckled, knowing that he and Mo Baichuan had something to talk about, so he flew away again. Yu Yuan's gaze fell on the pill furnace. The gourd-shaped, flowing flame had 3 legs as its base. On the outer wall of the pill furnace, there were carvings of vermilion birds, flame dragons, cheilants, phoenixes, and other ancient beasts. They were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. On the inner wall of the pill furnace, there were many strange flame arrays, which looked like raging flames burning strangely. When Flowing Flame landed, Mo Baichuan didn't even look at it. Those strange beast patterns on the outer wall seemed to have no interest. After Zhou Yu left, he no longer hesitated. He suddenly rose into the air and landed directly inside the pill furnace. His gaze rested on the inner walls, on the flame arrays with unknown meanings. Mo Baichuan's eyes suddenly shone with a strange light, and his breathing was a little rapid. Yu Yuan's Yin spirit, which was suspended in the air, was puzzled by his abnormal behavior. Old Bai, these flame arrays on the inner wall, what did they do to you? Mo Baichuan didn't say a word, still staring at those flame arrays. All his attention seemed to be focused on them. After a quarter of an hour, Mo Baichuan seemed to have consumed a lot of essence, and flew out of Flowing Flame weakly. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing for a little while, then opened them again and said, "This pill furnace for the current Yu should be useless. Give it to me." Yu Yuan was stunned. He had known Mo Baichuan for so long, and he had never asked for anything from him, Flowing Flame, as an artifact, because it didn't have an artifact soul. Its grade couldn't even reach heaven grade. Its biggest use was to collect the fire of the earth's core to refine pills. He created Flowing Flame because he couldn't cultivate in his previous life, and couldn't refine pills with his own fire like senior brother Zhong Chichen. Therefore, he could only rely on Flowing Flame. He could only gather the power of the earth fire from the volcano in the Earth Fire mountain range to smelt the spiritual materials into pills. "I can give it to you, but tell me why," Yu Yuan said. The flame arrays carved on the inner wall of Flowing Flame contain the wonders of the Earth's core. When my son's spirit really came into contact with the edge of the Earth's core, it was quickly burned to ashes. But because of this, I also saw the shape of the earth fire when it burned underground. The way the Earth's core burns in the depths of the earth felt familiar to me. It made me feel as if I had seen it somewhere before. I thought about it for a long time before I realized. Mo Baichuan raised his head and looked into Yu Yuan's eyes. "I saw it when you were refining pills." Back then, he had asked Yu Yuan for pills, and more than once, he had seen how Yu Yuan refined pills with his own eyes. Flowing Flame in front of him, Yu Yuan's soul shadow trembled slightly. The spirit arts and secret arts related to the Earth's core that my sect Master Yuan gave me were far less profound than the flame arrays carved on the inner wall of Flowing Flame. When you were Hanch, you hadn't stepped on the path of cultivation. How would you know how the Earth's core works? Mo Baichuan's expression was indescribably strange. When my son's spirit died inside, I only saw a little bit of the Earth's core's trajectory and method of burning. But in the inner wall of your pill furnace, there are various patterns of the earth fires burning. If you had been inside before, you should have lived inside for a long time to see so many changes of the earth fire. After a pause, Mo Baichuan said again, "Can you explain to me what's going on?" At the same time, Yu Yuan's body in the desolate god Great Lake suddenly shook, and he couldn't help but look at the old ape squatting by the lake in the distance. According to the desolate god, in theory, only his first life's soul was extremely powerful, and only then could he hope to cross the Earth's core and come into contact with the mysterious object hidden in Howren's heart. Did he really go in his first life? There was also no. Yu Yuan took a deep breath and said, "I remember that the Tool sect didn't contribute much to the forging of Flowing Flame. My master helped me refine this pill furnace. The carvings of various races and beasts on the outer wall seemed to be the work of the Tool sect, but the flame arrays inside seemed to be engraved by him. This memory was very vague, and he felt intermittent as if it couldn't be connected. I remember that your master's realm is not outstanding. Logically speaking, it is unlikely that he can comprehend such profound mysteries of the earth fire. Also, I think that those who haven't really reached the Earth's core can't carve so many ways of burning Earth fire. With your master's realm. Mo Baichuan shook his head. Obviously, he didn't think that Yu Yuan's master in his previous life had the power to reach the Earth's core. Flowing flame is yours, Yu Yuan said softly. Mo Baichuan, who didn't get an answer, snorted and said, "When you have an answer, please let me know. I will use your flowing flame to build a yang spirit in the earth fire mountain of your medicine god sect. Also, if you don't mind, the earth fire mountain of my freedom realm fusion place." Yu Yuan was shocked again. "Are you serious?" "I feel that if I want to reach the supreme realm with the earth's core, choosing the earth fire mountain of my freedom realm is my best choice," Mo Baichuan said seriously. "You are from the primal yang sect, and the earth fire mountain of our medicine god sect is the earth fire mountain of your medicine god sect. What do you want me to say?" Yu Yuan said irritably. Mo Baichuan didn't say anything and just looked at him. Okay, I will help you deal with the outside resistance." Yu Yuan looked helpless. Chapter 1561. After Mo Baichuan obtained Flowing Flame, he chose to cultivate in the Earth Fire Mountain range, intending to cast his yang spirit again. He disliked Yu Yuan for delaying his cultivation, so he directly expelled Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan's Yin spirit had nothing to do. Relying on the mysterious connection with the dragon beheading platform, he instantly fell from the Earth Fire Mountain range to the dragon beheading platform in the Great Lake. In the clear lake, Lu was still casting his bloodline divine crystal, and the desolate god was guarding him. Yu Yuan, whose Yin spirit had returned to his body, pondered about the mysteries of the earth's core engraved on the inner wall of Flowing Flame, and thought about his master. Unfortunately, the more he thought about it, the blurrier his memory became, and he couldn't find the answer. Time passed quickly, and Howren ushered in a rare peace. There hadn't been a big storm for a long time. Yu Yuan's yang spirit was still in the dragon beheading platform, refining the Qilan's heart, comprehending the true meaning of life power, and thinking about his path of Tao integration. On this day, smack! The old ape looked at the sky solemnly as it smoked, and its body suddenly shook. Yu Yuan immediately sensed it, and couldn't help but look at him in confusion. "What's wrong?" "The demonic phoenix is trying to use my power in outer space." The old ape frowned, snorted, and said, "She clearly knows that since I'm in this lake, she can't use my power. Why does she still want to do it?" Yu Yuan also found it strange. "Why does she suddenly want to use your power in outer space? She never does useless work. Since she knows she can't get it, she still wants to try, and deliberately let me know." While the desolate god was puzzled, he gradually had an ominous premonition. "She must have done something. She let me feel it. Maybe it's a warning to me, but what does she want to warn me about? Also, with her level of combat strength, if she wants to use the power of the monster race, is there a fierce battle? I remember that she hasn't met an opponent who needs to use the power of the monster race for a long time. Yu Yuan. Something must have happened in the outer realms. I'll ask the Tongtian Trading Company and the Shunhun sect about it." As soon as he finished speaking, the old ape disappeared into thin air. Half a day later, the crane of death that Jun Chun tamed suddenly died in the demonic abyss. When his heart exploded, his demonic soul also dissipated. After the origami appeared again, he brought back a few pieces of news. Also, like the White Crane, some of the great demons who betrayed the Goblin Temple and were not loyal to me have also died in outer space. As he spoke, he glanced at the green willow in the lake. If Lu wasn't in the swamp and was also in the sea of stars beyond the heavens like that crane of death, he might have suffered as well. The old ape's expression was solemn. "Who is it?" Yu Yuan asked in shock. The White Crane, who had comprehended the power of death and had some attainments in it, was already a genuine level 9 demon king. Just like the Peacock King, the Ash Wolf King, and Yutu's mother, they were all extremely ferocious great demons. The Crane of Death and a few other great demons who were wandering in outer space had died mysteriously. It was truly shocking. In this world, only the demonic phoenix can punish the great demons of Howren like this. The old ape's heart sank. In this swamp, there were many level 8 and level 9 great demons. When the sword prison fell, there were also great demons who were blasted into outer space by him. Fortunately, most of the great demons who were loyal to him were in the swamp. Those who left were also active in Howren. Otherwise, does she want to tell you that if she wants to, she can kill the great demons loyal to you at will? Yu Yuan asked. No, that's not it. I have a bad feeling. The Aragami shook his head but did not explain further. He knew that the demonic phoenix was vengeful. The death of the Qilin would probably cause the demonic phoenix to go berserk. Once the demonic phoenix went berserk, I hope it's just my imagination, the Aragami muttered in his heart. 2 days later, Tian Tsang, the Ghost King, asked the Aragami for permission through the teleportation portal that connected the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land and the Great Lake. He flew to Yu Yuan and the old ape as fast as he could, his face ashen and body trembling. What happened? Yu Yuan asked. This was the first time he had seen Tian Tsang so flustered. He immediately knew that something big must have happened. Taisher was intercepted by the demonic phoenix on his way back to the Thousand-Bird Realm in the domain of annihilation. Tian Tsang's voice trembled as much as his body. Taisher used an Earth Divine ability and returned to the underground of the Thousand-Bird Realm in an instant. The two God Kings, Gui Su and Tian Qi, rushed to the Thousand-Bird Realm as soon as possible. The old ape's expression flickered. So she wanted to kill Taisher. Yu Yuan shuddered. How is that possible? How could the demonic phoenix have found Taisher so quickly? Where's the Empress? Was she there? She and Taisher parted ways not long after you returned. She returned to the Dark Spirit's sacred land first. Taisher. Tian Tsang, who had chosen to be loyal to Taisher, let out a deep sigh. The demonic phoenix took the thing in the bronze coffin. What? Yu Yuan's expression suddenly turned extremely ugly. As long as Taisher was alive and had returned to the Thousand-Bird Realm, Tian Qi and Gui Su shouldn't have died before the two God Kings arrived. Taisher was related to the Howren. Unless the demonic phoenix had lost her mind and ignored everything else, she would have spared Taisher's life. However, the thing in the bronze coffin was a baby of the Titanspinosaurus. It was the baby the Shunhun sect was preparing to use to create the new Howren plan and deal with the peak Howren experts in the future. The demonic phoenix was their main target. He couldn't imagine the consequences of losing the baby. Yu, the desolate god, looked at Yu Yuan and Tian Tsang. He didn't know what was hidden in the bronze coffin, but the demonic phoenix's swift and decisive actions made his heart sink. We just received news that not long after the demonic phoenix, Lin Dok, Tan Xiaotian, and the others rushed out of the sky, the demonic phoenix seemed to have sensed something and hurriedly ended its entanglement with Lin Dok and Tan Xiaotian, flying away unilaterally. She only told Han Guiyuan to take care of Yuan Hao before she left. Lin Dok didn't say a word and followed the demonic phoenix through space. Tian Tsang explained dejectedly. Yu Yuan forced himself to calm down. He thought carefully and realized that the demonic phoenix must have sensed the Qilin's call for help before he died. The demonic phoenix didn't respond. Instead, she ended her fight with Lin Dok and Tan Xiaotian immediately. She went straight to where they were at the time. The demonic phoenix should have known that the Qilin would die and that she wouldn't make it in time. But she still went. She didn't go to save the Qilin, but to get rid of Taisher and Qin Qinghuang. When the Qilin's blood fell into Taisher's bronze coffin and was eaten by the baby Qilin, it was a clear direction for the demonic phoenix. She should be able to sense Taisher and Qin Qinghuang through the Qilin's blood and flesh. After Taisher and Qin Qinghuang parted ways, she eventually chose to kill Taisher. Taisher was seriously injured because of this, and the baby Titanspinosaurus was lost. I'm going back to the Thousand Birds realm. Yu Yuan rose to his feet and planned to go to the Annihilation lair in the Great Marsh that was connected to the Dark Wing domain. He wanted to check on Taisher's condition and warn Qin Qinghuang about the demonic phoenix. Don't go out yet. Tian Tsang hurriedly stopped him. Lord Sinkhole said that you should stay in the Great Marsh for the time being and try not to leave. That demonic phoenix must have gone mad. She's killing people in outer space. Even Anwen. Tian Tsang shook his head. She killed Anwen too. Don't leave the Great Marsh. The desolate god instantly flew over, pressed down on Qin Lai's shoulder, and forced him to sit down again. You'll be safe in my Great Marsh. She's capable of doing anything after going mad. What you need to do now is enter the Freedom Realm as soon as possible. After hearing that Anwen had died, Yu Yuan was pressed down by the old ape. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't move. In Heavenly Bird Forest, which was right next to the Land of Terror, Ji Tianyu, who had destroyed her deity seat, became a gray-haired old woman. She sat under a giant tree and thought about how Qin Qinghuang had appeared in this place. She used to be one of the supreme beings of Xuantianzong. She knew that Yu Yu had discovered a rebirth lair here not long ago. She vaguely heard from Han Yuan that the Ruoshuan divine tree, which had created the dark spirit race, was closely related to the phoenix before it had fallen. She also knew that the branches the phoenix used to weave its nest might have come from the original Ruoshuan divine tree. As the goddess of flora of Hauran, she naturally revered the Ruoshuan divine tree. After her deity's seat had shattered, she had come here dispiritedly. In fact, she didn't have any practical plans for coming here. She just came here to relax. Suddenly, she felt an abnormally sad feeling in her heart. She looked at the tree across from her and felt that the tree seemed to be smiling strangely at her. The seemingly ordinary tree seemed to be coming to life bit by bit, becoming ferocious and terrifying. Just like that, she stared blankly at the tree, as if it had suddenly been injected with an evil life force. Then, a branch as sharp as a spear suddenly stabbed at her. Whoosh! By the time Han Yuan rushed over with the Xian Huangdao banner in hand, he saw Ji Tianyu, whose flesh had been pierced by a tree and whose life force had been sucked out of her. Not only was Ji Tianyu dead, but even her soul was gone. It was as if she had been taken away. Han Yuan's expression was grim. He rubbed the branch with his finger and sensed it carefully. Then, he looked at the heaven overlook mountain range. Zhou Yu of the Tongtian Trading Company flew out of the forbidden land of Fallen Moon and looked in the direction of the Heaven-Shaking Empire. He planned to find Emperor Heaven-Shaking and send him back to the Thousand Bird Realm as soon as possible. He already knew that even God King Taisher of the Shunhun sect had been severely injured by the demonic phoenix in outer space. He was afraid that the experts who were loyal to Taisher, such as Emperor Heaven-Shaking, would be targeted. Therefore, he needed to make arrangements as soon as possible. From the information he had received, the supreme being of the Goblin Temple had started to respond to the Shunhun sect because of the death of the Qilin. Rip. After Zhou Yu opened a bright spatial rift, he flew into it. He was supposed to appear next to the supreme being of the Heaven-Shaking Empire in the next instant. However, it was as if an external force had forcibly distorted the spatial crack, causing his fat body to disappear after entering the crack. Zhou Yu had disappeared without a trace. Hauran and the outside world were in chaos. Chapter 1562. Don't look at me. It didn't come from me. At the peak of heaven-reaching peak, Zuan sat quietly beside the pond formed by the sky observing mirror. He looked at the unfriendly Han Kuiyuan and said in a low voice, The Chamber of Commerce's Zhou Yu also suddenly disappeared without a trace during a spatial rift. It wasn't the heaven-reaching mountain range? Han Shuyuan exclaimed softly. Due to Ji Tianyu's death, he was filled with murderous intent. He was certain that the one who had secretly killed Ji Tianyu was the creator of the Dark Spirit Clan, the fallen divine tree Ruo Sun. That was why he went to Zuan to denounce him. Vast dark sky curtain had a subtle connection with him. Perhaps he wouldn't care about the people from the dark sky curtain, or have a strong reaction to them. However, there was no way he wouldn't have sensed anyone who came from beyond Howren, especially someone like the god tree Ruo Sun. Therefore, he thought that Zuan had neglected his duty and immediately came to question him. It wasn't from me. Zuan shook his head. After a moment of hesitation, he said, it must have happened after the two god kings, Tianqi and Gui Su, hurriedly returned to the demonic abyss of calamity through a realm passage. Ji Tianyu had fallen to the freedom realm, was disheartened, and was naturally restrained by the god tree Ruo Sun, so she died too quickly. Zuan sighed and said, by the time I sensed it, it was already too late. Han Shuyuan suddenly fell silent. He knew that Zuan wouldn't lie. If Zuan didn't come from the heaven-reaching mountain range, then it must have come from the forbidden land of the fallen moons through the realm passage that connected to the demonic abyss of calamity. He knew full well why Gui Su and Tianqi had returned to the demonic abyss of calamity as if their butts were on fire. First of all, neither Gui Su nor Tianqi had entered the forbidden land of the fallen moons. The area that used to belong to the Shenhun sect was only protected by the heaven-sealing soul dissipation formation. It was possible that the god tree Ruo Sun had sneaked in without the two god kings. Is that tree still in Howren? Han Shuyuan asked. If it's deliberately hiding, and the god of the origin realm is covering for it, I'm afraid I can't see it. Unless it comes to the Heaven Ascension mountain range or appears in the Great Swamp, the old ape and I will be able to react instantly. Zhu An's expression was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the god of the origin realm has become even stronger. Zhou Yu's spatial rend has failed, which means that he can now interfere with Howren's spatial laws. Han Kuan-Yuan's expression changed. He should already know about the things we discussed and the decisions we made. Zuan was deeply worried. Zhong Qichen, you have to return to Howren as soon as possible. You have to apotheosize as soon as possible and get rid of these two malignant tumors. Otherwise, those who are well versed in spatial power will be affected if they want to leave through spatial rift. Even Zhu unpaused for a moment before he continued. Even the teleportation portals located in Howren will be interfered with by him in the future. Hearing this, Han Kuan-Yuan's mood worsened. Oh, by the way, Yu and Xianli from the Ghost Witch sect should also be in that realm passage, Zuan said. What are they doing there? Han Kuan-Yuan was puzzled. Just as he was about to ask for more details, he suddenly thought of something, and his expression became very unsightly. Whoosh! His true form floated out of heaven-reaching peak with the Xian Wang Daoist flag. His Yin soul was still there. I don't know why Yu and Xianli entered that realm passage. I only know that Yan Qiling accompanied them. Maybe they also want to see the origin realm portal that hasn't fully stabilized yet. Zhu An first told him what he knew, and then asked curiously, what do you think? As soon as Yu leaves Howren, no matter where he appears, Tan Xiaotian will definitely attack him. Han Kuan-Yuan's Yin soul shouted. When they were in the Starry River outside the realm, he and Tan Xiaotian had talked about the sudden departure of the demonic phoenix, Lin Doc and Yuan Hao's death. During their conversation, he heard Tan Xiaotian's dissatisfaction with Yu. He knew Tan Xiaotian well, and knew that because of Zhu Zheniying's death and the deaths of many Devil's Palace experts, Tan Xiaotian would definitely not tolerate Yu. As a specter god, Yu had a close connection with the source of the Yin vein. If Tan Xiaotian attacked Yu in the Howren realm, it might mean that he would have to face the source of the vein. However, once Yu left Howren, no matter where he appeared, as long as his connection with the source of the vein was broken, or if he couldn't maintain a close connection, Tan Xiaotian might attack him. What a mess, Zhu sighed. I'll be here for a while. If you see any strange changes in Howren, tell me immediately. Han Kuan-Yuan's expression was serious. The god of the origin realm has attacked Howren. I don't care what kind of agreement you have with the Shunhun sect, but I need you to control the situation with me during this time. Especially when Lin Doc and Yao Feng aren't here. Zhu nodded and said, okay. A few hours later, through the sky observatory mirror, the two men on heaven-reaching peak saw dots of black light suddenly fly out of the Tongtian Trading Company's headquarters and the Jade Peak mountain range. The dots of black light came from the chests of the Yu clan members. The dots of black light that were the size of rice grains carried pure darkness as they ignored the sealing heaven's soul-dispersing formation and flew towards the entrance of the realm passage. You know him very well. Zhu looked away from the pond and stared at Han Kuan-Yuan's specter. Can you still stop him now? I have to stop him even if I can't. Han Kuan-Yuan's face was filled with anger. Even if Tan Xiaotian and Yu are going to fight, it can't be now. Even if it's now, it can't be inside the realm passage where the gate to the origin realm is located. At the same time, Xuantianzong, Han Kuan-Yuan, is here to pay a visit to the person in charge of your sect. High in the sky above the forbidden land of the fallen moon sect, Han Shiyuan's true form, who was holding the heaven yellow Dao flag in his hand, stood like a divine being. He announced his name and jumped down before anyone from the Divine Soul sect could respond. Whoosh! A pillar of energy that seemed to contain all of Howren's spiritual chi of heaven and earth broke through the sealing heaven-soul dispersing formation's purple and black soul barriers. A hole appeared in the grand formation, allowing the Xian Huang Dao flag to enter. Don't start a fight inside the realm passage, Tan Xiaotian. Han Kuan-Yuan had already arrived at the entrance of the realm passage while the banner was still in midair. However, he discovered that the passage had already been filled with pitch-black darkness that was as thick as ink. At first glance, the entrance to the demonic abyss of calamity seemed to be filled with black water. Boom! 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 Violent explosions suddenly rang out from inside the passage. Grayish-white lightning and specks of sunflower essence could be seen shooting out of the black ink at the entrance. Han Kuan-Yuan's face was ashen as he looked at the fine cracks that seemed to have split open from the depths of the darkness and then healed. He had a feeling that the passage to the demonic abyss of calamity from the Forbidden Land was going to be blocked again because of the battle between Tan Xiaotian and Yu. Tan Xiaotian wasn't Lin Doc. Other than when he was on the side of the human race, Tan Xiaotian was just as unruly as he was at other times. Not long ago, it was also Tan Xiaotian who had chosen to join the battle with the Primal Yang sect after the demonic phoenix had attacked. This time, he had just arrived and was about to stop it. Tan Xiaotian didn't seem to be ready at first, but because of his arrival, he had chosen to start the battle ahead of schedule. Tan Xiaotian had even blocked the entrance, making it impossible for him to enter even if he wanted to. Tan Xiaotian. You! Han Kuan-Yuan stomped his feet as if he wanted to curse, as if he wanted to charge in and skin that disobedient bastard alive. Jiang Miaojia, Huaxian, and many of the Shunhun sect's younger generation looked at him in exasperation and didn't know what to do. Was this the leader of the human race in Howren? At the Great Marsh, after learning that Taisher had been severely injured, Yu Yuan learned that Ji Tianyu had died and Zhou Yu had disappeared. Neither the desolate god nor Tian Song had allowed him to leave, so he could only stay in the Great Marsh. Boom! By the time he arrived at the Forbidden Land, the heaven-sealing soul-transforming formation that was compatible with him was broken by Han Kuang. Inside the Great Lake, He also reacted instantly. His true form was still in the depths of the great marsh, but his young spirit was refining the Qilan's heart inside the dragon beheading platform. After channeling some of the power of the dragon beheading platform, he immediately saw Han Kuan-Yuan standing at the entrance to the Forbidden Land, stomping his feet and shouting Tan Xiaoyan's name. He could see Jiang Miaojie, Hua Xian, and the younger generation of the Shunhun sect in the Forbidden Land through the dragon beheading platform. He could also hear their whispers. That was when he learned what had happened. Tan Xiaotian had a conflict with Yu Yu in the passage to the demonic abyss of calamity, and the passage was blocked again. No one knows what's going on in there now. This time, it was Yu Yuan's turn to talk about the shocking changes in the Forbidden Land. The Great Marsh wasn't far from the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, so the Desolate God naturally heard Han Kuan-Yuan's announcement and learned that something had happened in the Forbidden Land. However, he didn't see it as clearly as Yu Yuan. Both the Desolate God and Tian Tsang were shocked to hear Yu Yuan's words. No one had expected Tan Xiaotian to choose to ambush Yu Yu in the Realm Passage, and block the passage so clearly that he wouldn't let Han Kuan-Yuan interfere. Patriarch Zhu just told me that the fallen divine tree should have taken the opportunity to come out of the Forbidden Land since there were no god kings guarding it after the Gui Su and Tian Qi left. Also, the god of the Origin Realm's power has seeped out of it. The Desolate God rubbed his furry forehead and felt the same headache as Han Kuan-Yuan. "How's the Qilan's heart?" he suddenly asked. "It's been completely refined, but I'm still a little unsure about the breakthrough to the Freedom Realm," Yu Yuan exclaimed softly. "Since the Qilan's heart has been refined, and your young spirit is so special, the demonic phoenix can't do anything. As for the breakthrough to the Freedom Realm, it's just looking for a Dao integration item. It's either the dragon-slaying platform or..." The Desolate God analyzed. "I won't choose the dragon-slaying platform." Yu Yuan shook his head. The Desolate God was surprised. "Why?" Tian Tsang looked deeply at Yu Yuan. He knew the inside story. He knew that Yu Yuan's first life was the great Yin Divine King, and that he was a dragon slayer to begin with, and that his main soul's mark hadn't been destroyed. That meant that Yu Yuan was the ruler of that world from the moment his soul entered the dragon-slaying platform for the first time. No matter when, as long as his main soul wasn't destroyed and he entered the dragon-slaying platform, it was his return. The dragon-slaying platform had become a part of him a long time ago. It was his Dao integration item, so he didn't need to choose the dragon-slaying platform to break through to the Freedom Realm. Therefore, Tian Tsang said softly, "The forbidden grounds of the fallen moon, right? The Shunhun sect needs you right now, and so does the forbidden grounds of the fallen moon." Yu Yuan trembled slightly. The forbidden grounds of the fallen moon? Indeed, that's where my dreams began. The great Yin Divine King of his first life, and Yu Yuan of his second life, had been born in the forbidden grounds of the fallen moon. The forbidden grounds of the Dao integration realm were beyond reproach. Chapter 1563. In the dark star system in outer space, and Ziqing, who looked haggard, traveled through the Star River ferry of the Tongtian Trading Company and finally arrived at the Blood Demon Race's sacred star system after a long journey. She didn't go through Qi Sun Realm. Instead, she turned into a bloody streak of light and flew over. Along the way, she vaguely sensed that there were shouts coming from the dark star system. She learned from the Chamber of Commerce that her father had died at the hands of the demon phoenix. In her grief and anger, she didn't care about anything else. The Star River ferry of Qi Sun Realm belonged to the Five Forces. She was afraid that she would be hunted down by the great demons if she appeared, so she had to take a detour. Finally, she arrived at the Blood Demon Race's sacred star system, where a war had broken out not long ago. Boom! Above an unknown star, a tall figure floated out of a dilapidated dark red castle. Behind this towering figure, there were many huge blood shadows. The blood-red silhouettes all had extremely majestic chi and blood, and their auras were extremely shocking. Some of the blood shadows seemed to swallow the sun and moon, some seemed to be able to turn into ancient demons and gods by kneading flesh, and some laughed strangely as if they were describing the mysteries of blood. And Ziqing's beautiful eyes lit up. The tall and old blood demon expert waved at her from above the star, motioning for her to come over. If her father, Anwen, hadn't died, she might have hesitated and felt some resistance in her heart. However, when the blood demon powerhouse waved at her, she immediately flew over. "My name is Meng Ku." The old man from the blood demon race grinned. And Ziqing was shocked and said, "You?" Meng Ku of the blood demon race was a famous expert of the era before the great demon god Grek. He was even older than Grek. It was said that he had lived for at least 10,000 years. In Howren, many Freedom Realm and Yang Soul Realm cultivators had been killed by Meng Ku. "I've been ordered to receive you." Meng Ku looked at this human with a similar aura to his, but who was from Howren. "The creator of my race has sent me its will. It wants me to take you to the Origin Blood Continent to see it." And Ziqing immediately became excited. It knows I'm coming?" Menk nodded. "It has been waiting for you for a while." And Ziqing took a deep breath and said without thinking, "Please lead the way." "Are you mentally prepared?" Menk asked. "What preparations?" "To enter the primordial blood continent, you'll have to go deep into the ground. You should no longer be a human. At the very least, your yang spirit will definitely become a genuine blood devil like us. Of course, your yang spirit will also directly reach the level of a demon god, and you still have to fuse with the Tao It," Menk said with a faint smile. Her yang spirit had transformed into a blood demon, and she had reached the 9th level of combat prowess just like Menk. She had also made a breakthrough in her own realm, and the Yang Meridian source had been promoted freely. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted? I only have one question. If I choose to be loyal to it, is there a chance for me to become the great demonic god? Also, will I be able to kill the demonic phoenix in the future? And Ziqing's eyes gradually turned red. Menk nodded. "Of course. All right, I'll go with you." Outside of Howren, the sect master of the lightning sect, Wei Zhua, rode the lightning deity's lake and flew aimlessly, searching for areas with dense lightning power. He had reached the late stage of the Freedom Realm from the middle stage, but the lightning deity's lake was still far from transforming into a divine weapon. The situation in Howren was constantly changing. He gradually couldn't understand it, especially Yuan Hao's self-destruction of his deity position. Han Yuan didn't summon him in outer space, nor did he say anything to him. He knew that he probably didn't need to rely on his power in Howren. Therefore, he floated around in outer space, looking for an opportunity. When he passed by a dark brown meteorite, Wei Zhua suddenly sensed something. He snorted and rode the lightning deity's lake closer. Boom! Thousands of lightning bolts seemed to explode inside the lightning deity's lake, and thousands of dazzling bolts of lightning shot out toward the meteorite. Ha ha! A pleasant sound came from inside the meteorite. Then, it wasn't just that meteorite. The other giant meteorites nearby instantly turned into thick and gorgeous books. A woman who was thousands of feet tall and was dressed in luxurious clothes appeared with a smile on her face. Hundreds of books revolved around her. Her sleeves fluttered, as if she could evoke the demons in a person's heart with a single word. There were thousands of little devils inside the hundreds of books. They felt the terrifying aura released by the lightning deity's lake and shrank into the books, not daring to show their faces. "Heart demon race, Simits," Wei Zhua snorted. Seeing that it was just a demon god of the heart demon race, his cold face revealed an undisguised murderous intent. "If it was any other intelligent race, I might have to put in some effort, but if it's you heavenly demons, I didn't come here to cause trouble for you. Otherwise, I would be the leader and a few rank 9 warriors of the Silver Scale race and the Star race." Simets smiled and said unhurriedly, I'm following the orders of my race's high priest to take you to a place. She paused and looked at the lightning deity's lake. Feeling the shocking power within, she said with a serious expression, that place is a forbidden ground of our heavenly demon race. It contains infinite thunder and lightning. Only we know about this place. I'm taking you there so you can refine the lightning deity's lake beneath your feet. Wei Zhuo was stunned. You're this kind? High Priest Reed isn't afraid that a supreme being who understands the laws of thunder will appear in Howren? The High Priest is afraid, but Simets was filled with respect. The old patriarch of my race isn't afraid of another supreme being of thunder appearing in the Howren great world. Haha, you're the master of the lightning sect. You should have heard of how a Howren cultivator who comprehended the great Tao of thunder and succeeded in becoming a god died, right? Wei Zhuo was a little dejected. I've heard of it. Although those who comprehended the laws of thunder were the bane of the heavenly demons, ghosts, and evil spirits, however, the great demon god Bertans was definitely not one of them. In fact, the supreme beings of thunder that Howren had painstakingly cultivated were all arrogant enough to counter the great demon god Bertans. However, they were all killed one by one. The great demon god's dignity was not to be challenged. It was the old patriarch's intention to take you there and cleanse the lightning deity's lake so that you have the qualifications to become a god. Simets looked at him and said sincerely, the heavenly demon race doesn't need you to do anything in return. If you're lucky enough to obtain a deity's seat and successfully become a god, all you need to do is send the lightning deity's lake to the origin realm. The origin realm. Wei Zhuo was shocked. The god of the origin realm is proficient in space and soul energy, but only souls can enter the origin realm. Once you become a god and the lightning deity's lake becomes a divine artifact, you can throw it into the origin realm one day. It will undoubtedly become a terrifying explosive, Simets explained. Wei Zhuo instantly realized that the god of the origin realm's existence and his recent rampage had angered the great demon god Bertans. That was why he had sent Simets here to cleanse the lightning deity's lake and give him a chance to become a god. Perhaps the great demon god Bertans felt that he didn't need to fear an ascendant of thunder because he had faced such an existence countless times. The god of the origin realm might not have had the opportunity to meet such an existence, so he wanted to test the waters. Something like this doesn't happen even once in 10 million years. What are you still thinking about? Simets snorted softly. Lead the way, Wei Zhuo said. At the Great Lake, Yu Yuan's young spirit flew out of the dragon-slaying platform and instantly merged with his true body, returning to his blood aura world. He held the dragon-slaying platform in one hand and notified the desolate god. He planned to return to the forbidden ground of Fallen Moon with the desolate god's permission. Then, he would merge with the forbidden ground of Fallen Moon and ascend to the Freedom Realm. However, just as his desolate god nodded and he was about to fly away, his body trembled slightly. The young spirit that had refined the Qilin's heart appeared in the form of the life altar in his blood aura world, as if it had sensed something. However, the perception was rather blurry, as if it were in the distant heavens. Whoosh! The dragon-slaying platform flew from his Shunkei meridian into his blood aura world and gently supported his young spirit that had turned into the life altar. At this moment, the dragon-slaying platform was like a strange support. It was as if Tian Tsang's demonic embryo was supporting his blood spirit altar. Thanks to the dragon-slaying platform, his young spirit's perception had been improved hundreds of times. An extremely faint blood spot that was connected to him gradually became clearer. Then, he seemed to see Enziching. Enziching was following a path that led to a strange cave in the depths of the earth. The rock walls were dark red, as if they had been smeared with blood. It looked rather terrifying and bloody. He had once saved Enziching from the blood cocoon with his life power. Sometimes he felt that Enziching had become his blood slave, his puppet, and one of his eyes. However, Enziching must be in the distant heavens at this moment. He found it strange that he could sense her from so far away. What was even stranger was that Enziching seemed to be just a link between him and something else. In the world Enziching was in right now, there was a mysterious thing that seemed to sense him through Enziching and the connection between him and Enziching. To be exact, he had sensed his yang spirit body. The yang meridian, the source of the yang meridian. Enziching muttered to herself. Boom. Her many experiences, her wandering in the starry river, her long journey, her meeting with Mengku when she arrived in the domain of deep darkness, and what she was doing at this moment, all turned into a sea of memories that were learned by Yu Yuan's life altar. The origin blood continent, the source of the yang meridian deep underground. Yu Yuan immediately knew that Enziching had gone to the origin blood continent he had been to before, to the place where the creator of the blood demon race, the source of the yang meridian, was hiding. He also knew why Enziching was here and what she wanted. Then, Yu Yuan sensed the thing that had sensed him through Enziching in the depths of the origin blood continent. It was not the source of the yang meridian. The source of the yang meridian was just under the origin blood continent, just like the source of the yin meridian was under the hauran. However, that thing was even deeper underground, like the heart of the origin blood continent. What surprised and shocked Yu Yuan was that that thing seemed to be wrapped in the coldest rock in the starry sky. That thing had formed a huge crystal in the heart of the origin blood continent in the depths of the extreme coldness that could freeze souls. Blood crystal. Puff. All of a sudden, a small piece of memory that had been sealed in the deepest part of Yu Yuan's soul, and only he knew about it, exploded. Extreme fire wrapped around the soul. Extreme ice wrapped around the blood. Fire could ignite the blood, and extreme coldness could freeze the soul. Therefore, it was the opposite. Therefore, the underground structures of the origin blood continent and the hauran great world were similar, but the things that wrapped around the underground were completely opposite. The only difference was that Titanspinosaurus had come to the hauran great world, or rather, it had come to hauran first. Its next target should have been the origin blood continent, but unfortunately, it had died in hauran, which had created the wonders of hauran and its current prosperity. The source of the yin meridian was scheming for the thing under the hauran, but it could not surpass the flames of the earth's core. The source of the yang meridian was scheming for the thing under the origin blood continent, but it could not surpass the extreme coldness. They could only wait for an opportunity and think of ways to go deeper. They still had not succeeded. Chapter 1564. At the edge of the universe, there was a strange land floating in this cold and lonely area. There was a deep blue sea on the land. If Yu Yuan was here, he would immediately recognize that this was the starry ash sea region he was extremely familiar with. There were many cold currents at the edge of the universe, but the chaotic and dirty energy of the universe was pitifully little. The moving land might only be able to find a dead star after a few months. There was not even a blade of grass growing on it, and there was an extremely simple collapsed stone palace. It was as if there had been creatures living here thousands of years ago, but because the environment was too bad and the energy in the universe was too scarce, they had long moved away. On the land, in the imitation starry ash sea region, Lin Zhuyun sat on a demon race totem pole that looked like a glacier, and her aura was as cold as ice. She had already reached the Freedom Realm and chose to merge with the heavenly capital ancient demon Array very smoothly. As a human, she had comprehended the Tao of ice. When she truly merged with the Tao, she found that she was very compatible with the demon race totem poles, and her breakthrough to the Freedom Realm was very smooth. The Een Corpse King had buried herself on an island and hadn't shown herself for a long time. The 36 totem poles had been taken out by the Chaos Kuan and refined one by one in outer space. When she fought with Yu Yuan, Yu Yuan had taken part of her demon energy, which made the Chaos Koan very angry. She didn't dare to disobey the Chaos Koan, as she knew how cruel the old man was. She chose to merge with the totem poles to show her loyalty. However, after she merged with the heavenly capital ancient demon array so smoothly, she found that the Chaos Koan looked at her coldly. The fierce light that flashed in the Chaos Koan's eyes occasionally made her feel like she was sitting on pins and needles. But she couldn't get rid of the Chaos Koan. She also knew that the Chaos Koan, who had been severely injured in the Firefly Star Zone, hadn't recovered yet. On one hand, she was worried about being surrounded by the overlords of the universe. On the other hand, the old man seemed to be looking for something, so he took her and the Een Corpse King to this place far away from the center of the universe. I didn't expect you to merge with the demon race's totem poles. This surprised me. But the Chaos Koan, who had turned into a skinny old man, narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at Lin Zhuyun, who was standing on a huge totem pole that looked like a glacier in the depths of the sea. You have to remember that the foundation of your Tao has been ice from the very beginning. It's because of this that I took a fancy to you and nurtured you. Lin Zhuyun nodded slightly but didn't say anything. You've reached the freedom state and you've even reached the Tao integration stage. I'll take you to the Dark Realm sooner or later to study the Tao laws of extreme frost there. What about you? With my help, you will eventually reach the same level of strength as the utmost beings of the human race. As the Chaos Koan spoke, many flashes of light constantly flashed in its eyes, as if it was constantly searching for something with its soul. One day, I'll take you to the Dark Domain and the Primordial Blood Continent, he muttered. Lin Zhuyun just listened. She would never know what he wanted to do or why he only wanted to cultivate her. Was it because his talent was good, and he had stepped onto the path of extreme frost from the very beginning? What could attract him on the origin blood continent of the Blood Devils? For so many years, for so many moments, he had repeatedly mentioned it, never forgetting it? Lin Zhuyun had too many questions in her heart, but she was tactful enough to never ask. To her, the less she knew and the less she talked, the longer she might live. As long as she was still alive, as long as she continued to grow stronger, she still had hope. She also had hope to see that person again and kill him. At this moment, the Chaos Koan, who had been lying motionless in the chair for a long time, suddenly stood up. The old man's gaze seemed to see through the endless sea of stars to another world, as if he had seen something. How is this possible? The Chaos Koan's expression suddenly became very strange, as if he was extremely shocked. Howren, the Great Marsh. Yu Yuan, who had wanted to borrow the power of the dragon beheading platform to reach the Tao integration stage in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land, suddenly stopped. Seeing him frowning and pondering, Ghoul King Tianzong and the old ape sensed waves of unusual blood power fluctuations coming from the aura and blood acupoints in his middle dantian. The origin blood continent. Yu Yuan murmured inwardly. Through his yang spirit, he could clearly sense Enziching. It also sensed that something enveloped in frigid coldness in the depths of the primordial blood continent had sensed its own aura from Enziching's body upon her arrival. He had been to the origin blood continent before, and he had sensed the origin of the Yang Meridian before. He could identify its aura. At this moment, the thing that was sensing him through Enziching clearly wasn't the origin of the Yang Meridian. Yu Yuan thought calmly. He remembered that the last time he had set foot on the origin blood continent, he hadn't finished condensing his yang spirit. His life altar hadn't completely merged with the great demon god Grek's blood-colored crystal and hadn't undergone a fundamental transformation, as if it hadn't reached a high enough level of being. Now, his yang spirit was fully formed, and after so long, it had refined too many blood-colored treasures. Coupled with the fusion of the Qilin's heart, his yang spirit had become even stronger and reached new heights. It seemed that he was finally qualified to be noticed by that thing. At this moment, and Zicheng happened to arrive at the origin blood continent and was sinking into the depths of the earth. Inside Zicheng's body, in the 7 blood pools in her flesh aura world, he had injected his blood of origin into them. The thing wrapped in extreme frost in the depths of the earth had sensed him through his blood of origin and then seemed to be searching for him. It was using Zicheng to find him. For some reason, Yu Yuan suddenly felt somewhat excited. At this moment, he suddenly sensed another familiar aura from Zicheng's body and her flesh aura world. The primal chaos koan. The primal chaos koan, whose whereabouts he didn't know, seemed to have been startled by it, and also sensed it. Just like him, the primal chaos koan had also been detected by it through Zicheng. Part of the wonders of the blood of origin he had injected into Zicheng's blood pool had come from the primal chaos koan, and seemed to have traces of its existence. Through those traces, the thing in the depths of the origin blood continent had also sensed the primal chaos koan. What was even more surprising was that there was another thing that had been branded in Zicheng's body, but had been deliberately ignored. That thing was in the origin blood continent at this moment. Grek's blood-colored crystal had come from the origin of the Yang meridian. When he had been refined into a sun god, his blood of origin had also contained the profound truths of life from the origin of the Yang meridian. Because of this, Zicheng had been favored by the origin of the Yang meridian, and had entered the depths of the earth in the domain of deep darkness. However, the origin of the Yang meridian, which was also in the origin blood continent, hadn't been favored by it, and had even been deliberately avoided. It seemed that it didn't like the origin of the Yang meridian. It had only sent a message to him and the primal chaos koan through Zicheng and the primal chaos koan. At this moment, it seemed that it was choosing a candidate that met its requirement. One was him, and the other was the primal chaos koan. Should he respond to it? After a moment of hesitation, Yu Yuan made a decision. Without hesitation, he said to Tiansong, "Go find Zhou Tsangmin from the Red Devil School. Tell him that I, Yu Yuan, would like to ask him for a favor. I want to go to the Starry River Ferry in the Qi Sun realm, which is controlled by the Red Devil School. And the sooner, the better." The Qi Sun realm? Tiansong was taken aback. That godforsaken place is close to the Blood Devil's domain of deep darkness. There's nothing else there. Before Yu Yuan could say anything, he added, "Shouldn't you be going to the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons as soon as possible?" At this moment, Taisher was still seriously injured, and the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons was leaderless. They needed Yu Yuan to oversee it. "Go do it now," Yu Yuan shouted. Tiansong went blank for a moment before suddenly remembering his identity in his first life. He nodded and immediately flew in the direction of the teleportation portal, intending to ask the Chamber of Commerce about Zhou Tsangmin's location. "Where are you going?" the old ape asked curiously. Yu Yuan was at a critical moment in his Dao integration, and he had already made the decision to return to the Forbidden Land of the Fallen Moons. However, he had suddenly changed his mind and asked Tiansong to ask Zhou Tsangmin from the Red Devil School to go to the Qi Sun realm as soon as possible. This was too strange. Yu Yuan smiled bitterly. "There are some things that I don't know, and I can't explain them to you. The Qi Sun realm is the closest to the domain of deep darkness. The most mysterious place in the domain of deep darkness is the primordial blood continent. There must be some secrets hidden in that continent. That's why the demonic phoenix has mentioned it more than once." The demonic phoenix? Yu Yuan shuddered slightly. According to the Wild's god, the demonic phoenix's status in the Howren was similar to the origin of the Yang meridian. When Anwen had decided to betray the Howren, the demonic phoenix had arranged for Qilin to kill him. After Qilin had failed, she had killed Anwen herself. It was as if she didn't want Anwen to go to the primordial blood continent. How much did the demonic phoenix know about the primordial blood continent? Did she know about the origin of the Yang meridian, Or did she know about deeper secrets? Also, where had the demonic phoenix learned about it? The Chaos Koan. The Chaos Koan that the demonic phoenix had suppressed at the bottom of the Stardust Sea with the heavenly capital ancient demon formation, but refused to be killed. Was it possible that the demonic phoenix's profound understanding of blood power and the suppression of the blood of all living beings in the Howren came from the Chaos Koan? She could have killed the Chaos Koan, but she had gone to great lengths to seal it. What did she want from the Chaos Koan? That thing in the depths of the primordial blood continent had rejected the origin of the Yang Meridian, but had extended an olive branch to him and the Chaos Koan, indicating that it was looking for them. Was it that the Chaos Koan had been favored by it before him, but because of the existence of the origin of the Yang Meridian, the Chaos Koan could never truly come into contact with it? The Yang Meridian and the blood devil created by it had firmly guarded the primordial blood continent, not allowing anyone to come into contact with it. The demonic phoenix is also very wary of the primordial blood continent. She doesn't want to go there herself. More often than not, she'll send Qilin or Heavenly Tiger there, the old ape said. Was the demonic phoenix always this powerful, or was it after the Chaos Koan was imprisoned in the Howren? Yu Yuan asked again. She's always been very powerful, so powerful that I find it ridiculous. Of course, after the Chaos Koan fell into the Stardust Sea, she became even stronger. I can feel it very clearly. However, after the Chaos Koan, she actually continued to grow stronger. I don't feel that she's ever weakened. The old ape sighed. 4 hours later, Tian Tsang returned and said, Zhou Tsangmin has agreed to help. He's given you a set of spatial coordinates. He wants you to go to the coordinates from the domain of Darkwing using the Empress's lair, and then go to the Qi Sun realm. Okay, I'll go now. Chapter 1565. At the edge of the Starry River, the Chaos Koan abandoned Lin Zhuyun and the continent and assumed the form of a giant star behemoth. With one crimson eye and the other silver-white eye, it flew through the starry river at top speed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wherever he passed, countless energy storms exploded and surged violently for a long time. He was very anxious. He had never thought that when he appeared at the edge of the starry river, far away from the dark star domain, the thing deep underground of the primordial blood continent was looking for him. For thousands of years, he had tried to communicate with the thing deep underground on the primordial blood continent. But he had failed time and time again. He knew that he didn't even need to be on the primordial blood continent. As soon as he appeared in the dark star domain, the origin of the Yang vein would immediately lock onto him. Then, it would mobilize the power of the entire blood demon race to deal with him. That was why he could only sigh, even though he knew that the thing was deep underground on the primordial blood continent. Many years ago, he thought of a way. He used his giant beast essence amber to forge a postnatal life altar inside Yu Yuan's body. His original plan was to wait until the time was right to possess Yu Yuan and go to the primordial blood continent in human form to try. But this idea didn't come to fruition. Later, because the great demon god Grek had died in the thousand-bird realm, he knew that Grek had 3 resurrection places. One of them must be on the primordial blood continent, so he secretly interfered. As a result, Yu Yuan, Yu Zhu, Chen Qinghuang, and the others accidentally entered the primordial blood continent through one of the resurrection places. Inside Yu Yuan's body was a life altar, which he had forged with the behemoth essence amber, and had become a life altar. He used Yu Yuan to test the waters. He wanted to see if Yu Yuan's life altar, which carried his aura, could alert the thing deep underground. He wanted to use the life altar inside Yu Yuan's body as a bridge to establish a connection with the thing deep underground. In the end, the thing hidden deep underground did not move. Instead, it alarmed the Yang vein. The Yang meridian had been refined by Yu Yuan, and Grek's blood-colored crystal had also interfered. Instead, it wanted to steal a part of the true meaning of life he had obtained back then. What surprised him was that Yu Yuan was actually able to come out of the dark star field alive. What did Yu Yuan rely on to escape with the undying bird? It was still a mystery. He used Yu Yuan to test the waters, but not only did he fail to achieve the desired effect, he even shot himself in the foot. When Yu Yuan had successfully forged his sun god with the life altar, the blood-colored crystal, and all the blood essence he had absorbed in the domain of Firefly. It was only later that he discovered that he and the source of the Yang Meridian had both tried to imprint their imprints on it, but they had all been erased. Both he and the Yang Meridian had miscalculated. Neither of them had gained any advantage from Yu Yuan. Instead, they had allowed Yu Yuan's sun god body to merge with the true meaning of life he and the Yang Meridian had separately obtained, which had created the wonders of Yu Yuan's current state. After such a long time, who would have thought that Enziching would be bewitched by the source of the Yang Meridian and travel thousands of kilometers to the origin blood continent? Yu Yuan's blood of life also existed in Enziching's body. The wonders contained in this blood of life had actually triggered it. As a result, it took the initiative to search for powerful beings in the starry river that caught its eye and that had come from it. Then, both he and Yu Yuan were chosen at the same time. After the primal chaos Koan realized what had happened, it no longer cared about anything. It even left the wondrous stone it had refined and rushed straight to the dark star field at the first possible moment. However, it was too far away from the dark star field. It might not be a big deal for it to fly through the starry river in the form of a behemoth. However, once it came into contact with living domains, it would have to go into hiding and face the risk of being targeted by powerful experts from beyond the heavens. Even so, it still went there without hesitation. Many, many years ago, it had obtained a piece of the true meaning of life, so it had imprinted it on its behemoth heart and merged with it. However, he knew that it was only a very small part, and he wanted more. He had nurtured Lin Zhuyun because he thought that perhaps one day, the Yang Meridian and the Blood Demon would both die, and he might be able to stand on the origin blood continent. He had wanted to borrow Lin Zhuyun's power in the future to see that thing through the extreme coldness. However, that thing had taken the initiative to look for him and Yu Yuan in the outside world. How could he not come? He was afraid that it would be too late. In the dilapidated Qi Sun realm, the realm barrier had been torn apart, and the barren land was covered with underground caves. This was originally the territory of the Crypt race. Due to the invasion of the Red Devil School, most of the Crypt race had died in battle, and the survivors had migrated elsewhere. Underground, in a city of the Crypt race, there was a secret Star River ferry built by the Red Devil School. Whoosh whoosh. Two figures emerged from a cave that led underground. It was Yu Yuan and Zhou Tsangmin. Yu Yuan, you've caused me trouble. The Grand Tutor, who had cultivated to the early stage of the Freedom Realm, was wearing a spotless white robe. He was extraordinarily handsome, and he sighed with a bitter expression on his face. He had asked Yu Yuan to come here and let Han Guiyuan and Demonic Phoenix know that he would definitely be labeled as a traitor, especially when Demonic Phoenix was going crazy in the outer world. I know you're in a difficult position. In the future, if you and the Flaming Sun Emperor compete for the Heavenly Flame Godhood, I'll do my best to help you, Yu Yuan said solemnly. At this time, Zhou Tsangmin agreeing to help was definitely a timely help. Without Zhou Tsangmin's help, without the Red Devil School's Qi Sun Ferry in the depths of the Qi Sun realm, he would not have been able to come so quickly. The fact that Demonic Phoenix had severely injured Taisher was no longer a secret. Of course, Zhou Tsangmin knew about it. He had helped him come to the Qi Sun realm. Once it was exposed, not only would Demonic Phoenix be furious, but Han Guiyuan might also do something. Zhou Tsangmin was indeed generous to take such a big risk and send him to the Qi Sun realm. he silently remembered it in his heart. Old thief Yuan. When the elegant white-robed Grand Tutor heard Yu Yuan mention the battle for the godhood, his face instantly turned gloomy. The Emperor and I were as close as brothers, but we had to fight to the death for the godhood. Old thief Yuan died, but he did not let me live in peace, nor did he let the Red Devil School be comfortable. Fortunately, Mo Baichuan was stubborn and chose the dead end of the flame of the Earth's core. Zhou Tsangmin sighed. Hearing the meaning of his words, Mo Baichuan did not choose any other path, which was definitely good news for the Red Devil School. Help people to the end. Go deep underground and temporarily close the Qi Sun Ferry. Yu Yuan coughed and said embarrassedly, "Other than me, I don't want anyone else to come through the Qi Sun Ferry. Tell me, who are you guarding against?" Zhou Tsangmin stared into his eyes and asked. "The primal chaos Kuan," Yu Yuan said calmly. He told Zhou Tsangmin what he did not even tell the desolate god. In the blood demon race's primal blood continent, something attracted me and tried to get close to me. This thing also sent a signal to the primal chaos Kuan, so the primal chaos Kuan is also on the way. Zhou Tsangmin was shocked. The primal blood continent? Yu Yuan nodded. After taking a deep breath, Zhou Tsangmin said, "Don't worry, I've been prepared since I agreed to help you. The person in charge of the Qi Sun Ferry has already been sent away. The person you went to from the Dark Wing Star Domain is also my confidant and is 100% loyal to me." When I said 100%, I meant that even if Sect Master Qin Luo asked, he would help me cover it up. Also, after you and I arrived at the Qi Sun realm, the connection between the two sides was temporarily cut off. What he said to the outside world was that the god of the origin world was too strong, and it caused the laws of space to change. Zhou Tsangmin said, "You're really something." Yu Yuan praised and flew away from the Qi Sun realm, heading straight for the Dark Star Domain. "Yu Yuan," Zhou Tsangmin shouted. "You don't have to come. Don't worry, I'm only going to the border of the Dark Star Domain. I won't go in. If I go in, I'll be targeted and hunted down by the blood demons." Chapter 1566. At the demonic abyss of calamity. Dressed in a pitch-black cloak, High Priest Reed stood on a small floating continent and stared at the entrance that connected to the forbidden land of the fallen moons. His eyes, which looked like two balls of deep purple devilish fire, grew more and more serious. He could sense that the entrance to the forbidden land of the fallen moons had been filled with dense dark power. Dark soul light kept sputtering out of it, and space itself was violently shaking and tearing apart. Devil Master Tan Xiaotian and Yu? Reed muttered to himself. He waited in silence for a while, convinced that a fierce battle had broken out inside the realm passageway. He also sensed that the origin realm gate hidden deep inside the passageway had exploded, as if it had ignited something and caused the space inside to become extremely chaotic and disorderly. Reed was worried. If something had happened to the realm passageway, how was Yu Yuan going to get here? He didn't dare to ignore Bertun's orders. A few days later, Reed received news from the Tongtian Trading Company that Devil Master Tan Xiaotian of Hauran had clashed with Yu, the new paramount specter god, Xianli of the Ghost Witch sect, and Yen Qiling of the Shenhun sect. The realm passageway had collapsed and become blocked again. The trading company had received this news from the Dark Wing domain. They had also received news that Taisher had been severely injured by the demonic phoenix, and that the two god kings, Gui Su and Tianqi, had rushed back to the Thousand-Bird realm in order to guard against the demonic phoenix. Reed, who had stayed in the demonic abyss of calamity to wait for Yu Yuan, learned that the god of the origin realm had begun to attack Hauran. Both Hauran and Hauran were in turmoil. After waiting for Yu Yuan for a long time without any news, he decided to leave the demonic abyss of calamity and report to the great demon god Bertuns. In the starry sky, there was a completely black star that was eternally still. From afar, it looked like a black lump of iron that gave off a heavy aura. Crack, crack, crack. The edges of the star cracked from time to time. At this moment, a giant golden dragon was coiled above the star. His golden dragon scales trembled slightly as he sucked out bits of black iron essence from the depths of this planet. The black iron essence that filled the sky was like billions of black fireflies that entered his dragon body through the gaps in his scales. Then, he easily refined them into his flesh and blood. On the top of a black mountain that was as sharp as a sword, Zhong Qichen, who was dressed in colorful clothes, narrowed his eyes and smiled, nodding in satisfaction. During this period of time, he was the one who had opened the space tunnel and led Long Jie to search for the star mines that contained the essence of gold, silver, bronze, and iron in the vast sea of stars. As Long Jie refined the essence of the metals into his body, his flesh and blood started to transform slowly. At this moment, Long Jie's outer dragon scales, dragon horns, dragon claws, and the dragon bones inside were as cold and hard as divine metal. When Long Jie's organs and the drops of dragon blood were filled and refined by the essence of the world and transformed fundamentally, he would lead Long Jie into the dark realm and search for the Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis. With Sabonis' death, Long Jie's dragon body would reach its limit. At that time, Long Jie would once again look down on the universe after the ancient era's giant golden dragons. He would no longer fear most of the so-called supreme beings of Howren. Once Zhong Qichen used the power of space and time to ascend to godhood, he and Long Jie would work together and revive the dragon race. He looked forward to the arrival of this day. He knew that it wouldn't be long before he could return to Howren. He would be invited back by all sides. ZZZT. In a dark and cold world next to the black iron star, strange spatial energy fluctuations suddenly came from it. Zhong Qichen's eyebrows twitched as he looked over in surprise. He didn't know what ignorant person dared to disturb him and Long Jie at this time. Even in outer space, the number of people who had the power to interfere with him and Long Jie could be counted on one hand. Rank 10 experts like Kadoras, Baylor, and High Priest Reed should be able to understand the great demon god Bertun's intentions. They wouldn't come to destroy Long Jie's strength. It was because the great demon god Bertun's needed Howren to deal with the Origin World Gate as soon as possible. Who could it be? Zhong Qichen frowned. All of a sudden, a giant butterfly with multicolored light around its body tore open space and flew out. Butterfly wings, a huge colorful butterfly that was twice the size of the black iron star he was on, gently flapped its wings. A young man of the Dark Spirit clan stood on one of the wings. His eyes seemed to be weather-beaten. He smiled and said, "I am Diggs of the Dark Spirit race." After leaving the illusory Dark Forest Star region and successfully becoming a rank 10 warrior, Diggs had returned to his youth. A golden war chariot appeared on the other wing of the butterfly. A majestic Azura sat on the war chariot. Natural golden spikes on the Azura's shoulders, knees, and elbows flashed with cold golden light. It was Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis. The void spirit, Diggs, Shura of Gojoseon, and Sabonis suddenly appeared together. Zhong Qichen's expression changed. "I didn't think you'd become like this, space dragon." The colorful void spirit spoke in the very pure language of the dragon race. The moment her eyes, which looked like colorful divine stones, stared at Zhong Qichen, the space of the black iron star slowly froze. Now that her soul had merged with her butterfly body, she had regained her peak strength with the help of the god of the origin world and the gift of the fallen divine tree. She could fully unleash the power of a star behemoth. She was very confident in facing Zhong Qichen, who had yet to reach the ascendant state. A golden dragon who's about to reach its peak. Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis slowly stood up from the golden war chariot and stood in the starry sky above the butterfly wing. Sabonis sighed helplessly. I knew that once he accumulated enough power, he would come to the hidden realm to find me. I had no choice but to act first. Dig smiled and said, Shura of Gojoseon, joining our master is your only choice to survive. Not only did our master ask the two of us to help you eliminate the dragon race, he also promised you that if we succeed, he will extend your lifespan. You're too old. I know you still want to live, and the fallen divine tree can help you. Sabonis nodded. He had no other choice. He wasn't afraid of Tan Shoutian messing around in the hidden realm. If he fully recovered, he wouldn't be afraid of Howren's other supreme experts. However, he didn't see any chance of winning against Long Jie. He didn't see any hope. It was because he knew that Howren's golden dragon was the ultimate law of the great Tao. The records left behind by the Shura of Gojoseon before him were all too clear. Many years ago, the giant golden dragon of the dragon race could wreak havoc in any territory of the Azura race. All the Azuras, regardless of their level or strength, could only be slaughtered by the golden dragon. When Sabonis realized that the great demon god Bertuns might have tacitly approved of Long Jie's ascension and the subsequent ascension of the dragon of space and time, for himself and the entire Azura race, he went to the god of the origin realm. Yu Yuan suddenly stopped in his tracks. There was a crimson light spot that was releasing a dim light far away from him in the gloomy and desolate universe far away from him. He had been to the dark star region before. The moment he saw the dark red dot of light, he knew that it was the dark red full moon he saw every time he looked up. The dark red full moon hung high in the dark star region. It contained the power of the origin of the Yang bloodline. It could be seen as the Yang bloodline's eye. Back then, after Chen Qinghuang had unleashed her ultimate strength and broken through the origin blood continent, the blood devil had found him, Tan Junshan, and the unconscious Chen Qinghuang every time they had fled for their lives in the dark domain because of that crimson moon. The Yang bloodline could see any place illuminated by the dark red full moon, and the experts of the blood devil race would quickly arrive. After so many years, the great demon god Grek must have returned to his peak, and there were many rank 9 blood devils. If he continued to move forward and arrived at the dark star region, his unique aura would be easily sensed by the Yang bloodline and Grek. Therefore, he calmly stopped and used his blood connection with Enziching to contact her. Also, through Enziching, he was looking for him and the Chaos Kuan. He quickly realized that leaving Howren and coming here through the Starry River, crossing in Chi Sun realm, had been a wise decision. Due to the proximity of the distance between them, his originally vague senses were heightened by a great deal. He also felt that Enziching had found a place under the origin blood continent. However, Enziching's Yang spirit flew out of her true body and seemed to be flying toward a thick river of blood. Obviously, that thick river of blood was the Yang bloodline hidden under the origin blood continent, which had created the blood devil race. At this moment, Enziching's true body was sitting on a dark red rocky ground, looking at the Yang spirit that had left her body. There were still 7 blood pools in Enziching's blood aura world that contained Yu Yuan's life origin blood. Therefore, his connection with Enziching was always maintained. The Yang spirit that Enziching refined also contained his blood aura, so he could sense it accurately. However, when Enziching's Yang spirit finally arrived at its destination and fell into the thick river of blood, suddenly Yu Yuan could no longer sense Enziching's Yang spirit. It was as if the life essence he had given it had been directly taken away by the origin of the Yang bloodline. Enziching's Yang spirit only had a small part of the life essence, but the Yang bloodline didn't know it was what it desired. It was also at this time that Yu Yuan realized that the origin of the Yang bloodline in this place had chosen Enziching because there was something it desired in Enziching's body. This thing wasn't something Enziching was born with, but given to her by him. In the next moment, Enziching's true body trembled violently. Inside her middle dantian, the drops of blood in the 7 purple crystal blood pools were suddenly frozen by extreme cold power and solidified. The blood and the purple crystal blood pools all turned into purple crystals. At this time, she found that she couldn't move or use the power in her blood aura world. Also, she sensed Yu Yuan's aura. Yu Yuan seemed to be communicating with another strange thing through her blood aura world. Chapter 1567. Through Enziching, Yu Yuan established a profound connection with the being deep beneath the primordial blood continent. Because of this, he saw many wonders. Many years ago, an enormous purple-gold thorned dragon landed on a dark red star. This thorned dragon had broad wings and claws that seemed to be made of metal. When it stopped on that star, it sent its purple-gold dragon heart to the depths of the earth. Its heart seemed to have been refined in the heart of the star and bestowed with some kind of power. During this time, it quietly lay on the surface of the dark red star, listening to some teachings and waiting for its heart to transform. It was only when it received the dragon's heart that it left the planet. After that, it began to grow stronger by hunting giant star beasts in the universe. It became stronger and stronger until it was invincible. It was Titanspinosaurus. That dark red star was where Enziching was now, the primordial blood continent. It was the first being to be blessed by the being beneath the earth, bestowed with the complete mysteries of life, and modified its dragon heart. Because of this, it became the supreme ruler of the universe. The supreme Titanspinosaurus was once the representative of the being beneath the earth. It was the manifestation of its will to the outside world. The scene changed. Many years later, a mysterious river of blood sank to that dark red star and attempted to contact the being beneath the earth. However, it received no response. Later on, heavenly devils from other realms had entered this starry river and landed on that dark red star. The heavenly devil in pure soul form was favored by the river of blood. Immersed in the river of blood, the heavenly devil gained a physical body and became a blood demon. At the time, the blood demons were still learning how to become strong and comprehend the mysteries of blood. However, they didn't even have a rank 9 warrior at the beginning. The great demon god was even more out of their reach. One day, a giant blue fish invaded this part of the universe. Upon entering that dark red star, it charged straight into the depths of the earth in an attempt to contact the being buried at the heart of the star, hoping to be favored. The giant blue fish was being surrounded by countless blood demon warriors in the depths of the earth. It was also fighting against the river of blood. In the end, it escaped with wounds all over its body. However, when the giant cyan fish left, one of its crimson eyes and the other silver eyes shone with the light of excitement and surprise, as if it had also made some gains. However, after he left, the blood demon tribe suddenly started to show their strength. Not only did many rank 9 powerhouses appear, but the great demon god was also born. After killing some mysterious giant green fish, it seemed that things did not go well for it after it left, and it was unable to return to this place. The river of blood, on the other hand, gradually grew stronger and stronger within the star. The blood demons also grew stronger and stronger, becoming a high-grade race renowned throughout the heavens. The blood demon race and the river of blood had been guarding the dark red star all this time. They didn't allow other races to set foot on it, nor did they allow any living beings to come into contact with the things underground. The first overlord created by the underground creature had already died in another world under the siege of many giant beasts. Boom! Scenes were transmitted from Enziching's small world of qi and blood to Yu Yuan's sun spirit. Yu Yuan's sun spirit, which had turned into a life altar and landed on the dragon-slaying platform, didn't even need to think to know what had happened. Immediately afterwards, the dragon-slaying platform that supported the life altar quietly turned into bright rainbow colors and rippled through space. The space where Yu Yuan's true body was suddenly became rather dreamy. Many cracks quietly appeared, and wisps of supernatural power that contained the true meaning of life flew out of them. The wisps of supernatural power flew into his middle dantian acupoint and merged with the life altar formed by his son's spirit. The moment the first wisp of supernatural power entered the life altar, his son's spirit seemed to have established a true connection with the things underground. At this moment, he clearly felt that the blood of life he had left in the 7 blood pools inside Enziching's body had suddenly dried up. It was as if it had been ruthlessly wiped away. He and Enziching could no longer communicate with each other. He could no longer sense what was happening there through Enziching. However, he no longer needed Enziching to communicate with the things underground on the primordial blood continent. Even if he wasn't on the primordial blood continent, or even in the dark domain, it was as if, from this moment on, no matter where Yu Yuan was, or what realm he was in, there would always be a link between his unique sun spirit and the thing under the primordial blood continent. After the first wisp of life energy, more life energy fused into his life altar-shaped sun spirit. At this moment, Yu Yuan also realized that he had been favored and favored. After the primal chaos koan, the supreme Titanspinosaurus was also favored by the mysterious things underground on the primordial blood continent, and began to give him some of the mysteries of life. However, the primal chaos koan seemed to have only received a small amount, and its development didn't go well. The supreme Titanspinosaurus had arrived on the primordial blood continent before the Yang bloodline had arrived. After a long period of contact and offering its dragon heart, it had received the complete true meaning of life. As a result, the Spinosaurus had become the overlord of the Starry River, the strongest existence in the boundless Starry River before the grand demon god Bertans. Yu Yuan concentrated on absorbing the gifts from the primordial blood continent at the border of the dark domain with the help of the wonders of space on the dragon beheading platform. Crack, crack. Deep under the primordial blood continent, Enziching was shocked to find that the 7 blood pools in her flesh aura heaven and earth had all shattered. She suddenly felt very weak, as if all of her blood power had been drained in an instant. Besides, she could no longer sense Yu Yuan's aura. At the same time, her sun spirit, which was soaking in the blood-colored river, heard the instructions of the Yang bloodline. She slowly flew towards the Yang bloodline, intending to wholeheartedly accept the origin of the Yang bloodline. She wanted to merge her Yin spirit and true soul with the Yang bloodline, so that she could fuse with it and ascend to the Freedom Realm. She was well aware that if she merged with the Yang bloodline to fuse with the Tao, she would never be able to escape from the origin of the Yang bloodline. She would forever be loyal to the origin of the Yang bloodline, like the great demon god Grek, Menk, and all of the blood demons. However, when she thought of what had happened to her father, she didn't hesitate. It's over. Is it over just like this? The Chaos Koan, who had turned into a skinny old man, had just left the border of the Starry River and wanted to enter the remote Starry River controlled by the demonesses. He wanted to see if there were any Starry River corridors in the demonesses' territory that he could use. He was in a hurry to go to the closest place to the dark domain, but he suddenly found that he could no longer sense Enziching. Similarly, the thing that was searching for him through Enziching also stopped moving. The first thing that came to his mind was that Enziching had merged with the origin of the Yang bloodline, and the wonders of life that were somewhat related to him had been absorbed by the Yang bloodline. Without Enziching as a medium, he couldn't communicate with that thing underground. Even if he reached the border of the dark domain, there was nothing he could do. For thousands of years, he had reached the border of the dark domain countless times, but all he could do was look at the crimson moon and the origin blood continent, and try to communicate with it with the wonders of life in his heart. It was a pity that he never got a response again. The Chaos Koan, who had suddenly lost his direction, stopped and didn't know what to do. He realized that if he rushed over now, he probably wouldn't get anything. It would be the same as before. However, he wasn't willing to give it a try if he didn't take a look. He hesitated for a long time, but still didn't give up. He turned into a demoness and looked for an opportunity to pass through the starry river in front of him. The great Shura of Gojoseon betrayed the entire starry river and chose to side with the abyss in order to survive. Zhong Qichen looked at Sabonis, who was riding a golden chariot on a giant butterfly wing. He shook his head and sighed. I can see that your soul hasn't been corrupted. You're active. You're different from them. The void spirit and Diggs's souls were filled with the aura of the god of the origin world. Zhong Qichen was very sensitive to this. He could tell. The void spirit, Diggs, and the fallen god Tree Ruo Sun had all been bewitched and corrupted. They could no longer control themselves. Their thoughts and consciousness were gradually being controlled by the god of the origin realm. Sabonis was different. He was conscious and rational. He hadn't been corrupted. This meant that he was harder to deal with. However, Zhong Qichen actually didn't feel any fear or uneasiness. He looked at Long Jie, who had already raised his head with high fighting spirit in the depths of his golden eyes. Zhong Qichen smiled and nodded. As expected of the golden dragon bloodline, which is best at fighting and most addicted to battle, I didn't waste my time fighting against Han Yuan and the others for you. I don't know. Where did you get your confidence from? The void spirit in the form of a giant butterfly shook its body and turned into the beautiful and weak Benin. However, this Benin was even bigger than the star Zhong Qichen and Long Jie were standing on. The colorful Benin stepped on layers of dazzling ripples and arrived next to the black iron star in an instant. Dragon of Spacetime, you and I were on par with each other in the ancient era. You've been reborn as a human, and you haven't obtained a supreme seat yet. Why are you so calm? The god butterfly asked curiously. Even if we're on par with each other, you're only 0.5 kilogram, and I'm 8 kilograms. Zhong Qichen smiled. Seeing that Sabonis was approaching, and that thousands of golden laws had transformed into dazzling golden blades and appeared above his head, Zhong Qichen said, the Shura of Gojoseon of this generation is very ambitious. He actually wants Long Jie's dragon heart. He wants to see why the bloodline crystal chains imprinted in it are the ultimate of the great Tao of metal. Sabonis shouted softly, that's exactly what he wants. His eyes were burning with passion. From the letters of the previous generations of Shura kings, he knew that after the golden dragon became a god, new bloodline crystal chains would be born in its heart. If the Shura race could kill it before it was fully formed, they would be able to obtain the dragon heart and understand the mysteries within. Then the Azura race would have a chance to reach the ultimate level of the great Tao of metal. However, the Azura race had no chance of winning even against an incomplete golden dragon if they relied on their own strength. They had to rely on external help. You wish. Zhong Qichen's eyes were full of mockery. He shook his head with a smile and said, Lindok, didn't Han Guiyuan ask you to follow us to prevent this from happening? If you don't attack, Howren's foundation will be destroyed by the god of the origin realm, and everyone will be finished. Lindok! Lindok! The void spirit, Shura of Gojoseon, Sabonis, and Diggs' expressions changed when they heard this. Chapter 1568. Lindok. The expressions of the three ultimate existences from outer space changed when they heard that the master of the sword sect might be nearby. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! Emerald green light rippled beneath Diggs of the dark spirit race's feet, and a sea of trees instantly appeared in the dark galaxy where he was. Ancient trees that were thousands of meters tall and as large as mountains appeared out of thin air with dense foliage. Brown vines wrapped around Diggs' body like snakes and turned into a strange wooden armor. He was ready to defend himself to the death. His body, bloodline, and soul could communicate with the many ancient trees in the forest. He could attach himself to any ancient tree and use its power to fight. Lin-Doc. Diggs looked like he was facing a great enemy. As he looked around, some of the trees in this forest swayed in different directions to search for the master of the sword sect. The Phantom of Space, who had just taken the form of Benin, turned into a colorful divine butterfly after Diggs. However, she had clearly restrained her butterfly form. In an instant she became billions of times smaller. She looked only the size of a normal person. She seemed to know that the more she displayed herself, the easier it was for her to become the first target. Even the golden blades that Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis had formed with their bloodlines suddenly stopped in the sky when Zhong Qichen said Lin-Doc's name. They were in no hurry. They immediately shot towards the black iron star. This Lin-Doc. The reborn dragon of space rubbed his chin thoughtfully at the top of the steep mountain. When he had roamed the universe, even the sword sect hadn't appeared in Howren yet. After the decline of the dragon race, when he had accompanied the great Een to war in outer space, Lin-Doc hadn't appeared either. In Zhong Qichen's memories, his impression of the sword sect's Lin-Doc was very vague. However, he knew a little about Niechingtian's deeds. He thought that the sword that towered into the sky was the strongest in the sword sect, and that he was stronger than Lin-Doc. However, the performance of Diggs, the Void Spirit, and the Shura of Gojoseon kept reminding him that the sword sect master, who was not very famous, was definitely an extremely troublesome person. Long Jie, you have to deal with Sabonis later. I'll help Lin-Doc restrain Diggs. Zhong Qichen began to lay out his plan. He had envisioned that the Shura of Gojoseon and Sabonis would appear, and he had also envisioned that the god of the Origin Realm would send spatial spirits to attack, but he hadn't expected them to join forces. With three utmost beings from beyond the heavens appearing at the same time, he felt that even with Lin-Doc around, it might not be easy. Seven-colored ancestor, you worry too much. Long Jie was still lying on the black iron star. He was still using his bloodline latent ability to extract black iron essence from the ground. From the moment Zhong Qichen had said that Lin-Doc was also nearby, he had suddenly relaxed. Forefather, you've only awakened for a short time, and you, Zhong Qichen, have lived a short life. Therefore, you probably don't know what Lin-Doc means. Long Jie suddenly laughed sinisterly. Since he's here, we don't have to do anything. Zhong Qichen was shocked. But in the next moment, he understood the meaning behind Long Jie's words. Whoosh! An extremely dazzling sword radiance, like a bright river formed by the convergence of countless crystals, appeared out of nowhere and instantly landed on the sea of trees where Diggs was. Diggs, who had a rank 10 bloodline, used his refined blood and latent ability to create a forest of 10,000 trees out of thin air. The moment the sword light fell, a series of ancient trees that were over 10 million feet tall exploded into countless specks of green light as the sword light swept through them with unstoppable force. Inside the sword light river, the tiny crystals turned into even thinner sword lights that chased after Diggs's green refined blood and crushed it. Poochie! Diggs, who was wrapped in wooden armor, didn't have time to escape when his refined blood was destroyed. A huge hole suddenly appeared in his chest. The sword light penetrated Diggs's heart. When all of his bloodline crystal chains shattered, even his soul awareness was wiped out. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh! After killing Diggs's refined blood, the tens of thousands of fine, sparkling sword lights quickly merged back into the sword light river. At this time, the empty-handed Lin-Doc finally appeared from the darkness with a frown on his face. He was dressed in wrinkled clothes. Dark green bloodstains could be seen on his clothes. It seemed that when Diggs' blood essence had been crushed, it had sputtered in all directions. He didn't bother to avoid it, nor did he bother to block it with his spiritual power. Instead, he simply let it fall. However, when he appeared, Diggs was already dead. Countless drops of blood essence that contained wood power fell from the sky like a drizzle, but he didn't seem to notice them. With a huge hole in his chest, Diggs's bloodline crystal chains had exploded. His soul had been crushed, and his life had been completely cut off. What a waste! Long Jie muttered, and his enormous golden dragon body suddenly soared into the sky. The moment Lindok swung his sword, the spatial restrictive spell the Void Spirit had cast on the star where he and Zhong Qichen were shattered without a sound. Diggs was a rank 10 expert of the dark astral race. The blood that filled the sky contained wood essence. Meanwhile, even though Long Jie was a true dragon god, he didn't have an endless lifespan or endless life force to squander. Diggs' blood was a very good supplement for him. It was a very nourishing potion. Even though Lindok didn't care, Long Jie cared a lot. Whoosh! While Long Jie was collecting Diggs's refined blood, Lindok stretched his right hand and clenched it. An extremely dazzling sword that couldn't be seen instantly appeared in his palm. Zhong Qichen shuddered violently when he saw the sword. The space-time dragon, who had read the wonders of the Starry River and had a unique understanding of the secrets and holy tools of the races of the Starry River, looked shocked. He seemed to have seen something extremely unbelievable and unreasonable. The deity tablet. Even he, who had seen a lot, was so shocked that he stuttered. He didn't expect that in the sword sect tens of thousands of years later, there would be such a crazy sword fanatic like Lindok who would condense the deity tablet he had forged into a sword. The solid, crystalline deity tablet that was branded with the laws of Tao actually became a sword after it merged with his nascent soul. That was the symbol of the highest existence in Howren. In the past, Zhong Qichen did not even dare to think about it, let alone see it. Someone would condense the most precious deity position, which should be guarded the most, into a sword. Then he would carry his deity tablet and fight someone to the death. If the deity tablet was shattered, even the slightest crack, Lindok's cultivation would drop, and even his body and soul would be destroyed. However, he held the sword condensed from his deity tablet and killed Diggs with a single strike. How could there be such a person in the world? How could there be a person who didn't care about the deity tablet and his own life and death? Whoosh! Holding the deity tablet that was condensed from his nascent soul, Howren origin, and sword Tao laws, Lindok suddenly appeared beside the colorful butterfly that had shrunk millions of times and slashed out with his sword again. The Void Spirit's eyes that were like rainbow-colored divine stones revealed obvious fear, and her gorgeous butterfly wings flapped vigorously. 2 origin world gates suddenly appeared on her 2 butterfly wings. They were formed from circles of colorful flowing light, and they looked like creatures from the abyss that were slowly opening their mouths. Lindok, who was holding his deity tablet, was expressionless. There was no ripple in his eyes. Once again, a brilliant sword light shot toward the butterfly wings. The sword light that was originally as wide as a long river shrank as the Void Spirit shrank, becoming as thin as a strand of sparkling hair. When this sword light was magnified millions of times, it was still filled with billions of tiny crystals. Every tiny crystal was filled with dazzling and enchanting laws of the sword. Bang! The origin world gate above the butterfly wings that looked like an open mouth was penetrated by the incredibly thin sword light and instantly exploded. A wild and chaotic power mixed with spatial blades caused one of the butterfly's wings to split open. A part of the hair-like sword light penetrated the origin world gate and seemed to be madly stirring. It swiftly cut the Tao laws, the secrets of the soul, and the spatial coordinates hidden inside to shreds. The origin world gate suddenly exploded, causing one of the Void Spirit's butterfly wings to split open and explode. One origin world gate and one of the Void Spirit's butterfly wings were destroyed by Lindok's sword at the same time. Because the origin world gate of the Heaven Tower mountain range is connected to Howren, it's built on Howren's Tao laws. I didn't use my sword because I was afraid of hurting Howran. Lindok frowned. To think that an Origin World Gate would dare to be an eyesore in front of me in outer space. He muttered with displeasure, and then he swung his sword with the intention of annihilating the other door to Origin Dimension. He also cut off one of the Void Spirit's butterfly wings. Sabonis! The Void Spirit screamed in pain. She desperately tried to squeeze her remaining butterfly body into the other Origin World Gate. The second Origin World Gate suddenly exerted a boundless suction force. Like a fully charged pump, it sucked the rest of her butterfly body into it. It was because she saw that when Lindok destroyed one of the Origin World Gates and one of her butterfly wings, Shura of Gojoseon had already retreated to the Dark Realm Cold Well. He carried with him in his Golden War chariot. Shura of Gojoseon had fled. Long Jie, Zhongqichen, who was also frightened by Lindok, shouted when he saw that Shura of Gojoseon was about to leave. He told Long Jie to find a target before he flew out. Wait a minute, Shura of Gojoseon. He looked at the Dark Domain Cold Well and waved his two colorful sleeves at the Dark Domain Cold Well. He said, wait a minute. Long Jie hasn't recovered to his peak, and I don't have 100% confidence. Why don't you fight to the death here? Don't go back to the Dark Realm for now. As he said this, the spatial power contained within the frost crystals that made up the Dark Realm Cold Well suddenly froze. Shura of Gojoseon's Golden War chariot landed in the well, but it didn't reach the Dark Realm smoothly. After all, the raw materials used to make the Dark Realm Cold Well were frost crystals that had slowly condensed over time at the mouth of the frigid abyss in the Firefly domain. The frost crystals contained not only the power of the frost dragon, but also Zhongqichen's spatial power. The reason why he dared to say that Long Jie was strong enough to kill Sabonis was because he knew the locations of the Dark Realm Cold Wells that were built by the Shura clan and connected to the Dark Realm. He could use it to bring Long Jie from the Dark Domain Cold Well and directly enter the Dark Domain to kill Sabonis. Whoosh! The second Origin World Gate and the remaining body of the Void Phantom suddenly vanished into thin air. Lindok, who was holding his divine throne and unable to swing his sword again, looked a little disappointed. He didn't have enough fun. However, he didn't understand spatial power. Standing in the empty space, he looked around and found that there was no target for him to attack again. Therefore, the blade of the sword in his hand sank into his soul consciousness in the form of a divine throne. The hilt without a blade was sheathed in the sheath on his back. Chapter 1569. Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis was stuck at the mouth of the Dark Realm Cold Well and could not return successfully. Zhongqichen smiled brightly and shouted loudly, "Without that annoying Kai Dai, you can't go back to the Dark Domain. In this lonely starry sky, whether you want to or not, you have to fight against Long Jie." Roar! Long Jie let out a long howl and then flipped his enormous body in the deep space. Then, he moved towards Shura of Gojoseon. "This is a battle between me and Sabonis. Please do not interfere." Long Jie's golden eyes were solemn and serious. Above the golden dragon scales, there seemed to be countless sparks of energy waiting to be unleashed. Each of his dragon scales was half a mu in size. If one looked closely, the sparks of light shone with all kinds of metallic luster. He had not fully activated his bloodline, but he gave people the feeling that he could not be destroyed by swords and blades, and could not be extinguished by fire and water. Lindok's eyes showed a trace of surprise. He did not seem to think that Long Jie would become so unyielding after becoming a god. Sabonis, the Azura king, had brought the Void Spirit and Diggs with him. That was why he dared to come to find Long Jie. He wanted to use the external forces to kill Long Jie and take his heart. But Long Jie chose to fight Shura of Gojoseon fairly at this time. As expected of a pure-blooded golden dragon, Zhong Qichen exclaimed in admiration. He, who was dressed in colorful clothes, suddenly stopped beside Lindok. To him, traversing a distance in the starry sky was only a single thought. He wisely gave that space to Long Jie and Sabonis. Little Lin, Zhong Qichen smiled with narrowed eyes. He shamelessly called himself an elder. I am tens of thousands of years older than you, but I have never seen someone as strange as you. Do you really not know that deity positions can shatter? What were you thinking at the time? You actually refined a deity position into a sword? In his opinion, with him and Lindok holding the line, Long Jie would not be in trouble. Even if he could not defeat the Shura King now, Long Jie would definitely be able to survive. With his help, Long Jie would be able to recover sooner or later and collect more gold, silver, copper, and iron essences to cleanse his dragon body. In short, Shura of Gojoseon Sabonis would die, either now or in the future. Moreover, because Sabonis had sided with the god of Origin World, he would be labeled as a rebel in the boundless starry sky, and the great demon god Bertuns wouldn't forgive him. Since Shura of Gojoseon was no longer a threat, he went to talk to Lindok. Since he had nothing to do anyway, Lindok, who had condensed the supreme divine position into a sword blade, had truly shocked the dragon of space and time. He also finally understood why once Lindok drew his sword, he would either immediately decide life and death, or immediately decide victory and defeat. Lindok, who held the deity position and turned it into a sword to fight, was risking his life every time he used the sword. If the deity position exploded or cracked, his primordial spirit would be severely injured. He would either be destroyed or his realm would drop. Thinking of the short lifespan of the human race, Lindok would still die if his realm dropped. Lindok had carried out the sword sex principle of not fearing death to the extreme. No wonder Han Yuan didn't want Lindok to participate in the battle even when he wasn't in a critical situation. Too hard and too easy to break. Lindok's swordsmanship was just like his temperament. He was too direct and did not know how to be flexible or retreat. If Lindok encountered an enemy several times stronger than him, he would probably not retreat even if he encountered many level 10 extraterrestrial peak warriors. He would definitely fight until the end. He was not like Tan Xiaotian, who would decisively think of a way to protect himself when he realized that he had no chance of winning. As long as there was life, there was hope. He would wait until he accumulated more power and had more helpers in the future to take revenge. Therefore, in Howren's battle with the extraterrestrial races, Tan Xiaotian and White Sky Tiger were the vanguard. The brave Demon Lord and Sky Tiger were not as stubborn as Lindok. They would only try their best when they saw a chance of winning. They would retreat in time if they felt that something was wrong. Nie Qingtian in his early years should be the same. He was not as stubborn as Lindok. However, it was also this kind of Lindok with such swordsmanship that he was the sharpest killing weapon of the human race. He was the person with the highest combat power of the human race. The demonic phoenix was most afraid of Lindok, not Tan Xiaotian, who was more flexible. Tan Xiaotian cherished his life. As long as his bottom line was not crossed, he would not fight with his life. As for Lindok, it was fine if he did not use his sword, but if he did, he would fight with his life. I still have something to do. Lindok, who was carrying a bladeless scabbard, was too lazy to waste his breath with him. He turned around and prepared to leave. You don't care about Long Jie's life? Zhong Qichen shouted. It doesn't matter to Howren whether he dies or not. Lindok frowned. That demonic butterfly is seriously injured. The one who can threaten you the most will not be able to attack you again. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a straight line and left. The meaning of his words was clear. To get rid of Howren's Gate of Origin realm, he needed the space dragon. It did not matter whether Long Jie died or not. Without the void spirit, with Zhong Chichen's experience and proficiency in spatial power, no one in the universe could kill him easily. Also, peak existences like Kadora's and Baylor knew Bertun's intentions. They definitely would not choose to attack at this time. Lin Doc felt that he had completed Han Shuyuan's request. There was no need to stay. As for whether Long Jie or Shura of Gojoseon would die, he did not care. This old thing Han Shuyuan is really something. He was able to discover such a strange race, and make such a person trust him completely. Zhong Chichen felt admiration. At the border of the dark domain, Yu Yuan floated quietly in midair, facing the Origin Blood continent. An unknown amount of time passed. There were no bright stars nearby, and no outsiders passing by to disturb him. After the Starry River crossing in Chi Sun realm was closed, the humans and great demons of Howren would not appear either. He looked at the Origin Blood continent with bright eyes in the cold sea of stars. Bewildered, he accepted the gifts from the mysterious thing in the depths of the dark red continent. Before he knew it, the flesh aura world in his middle dantian had undergone shocking changes. The sun spirit, which had originally been in the shape of a life altar, had turned into numerous upside-down crystalline stalactites. Some of the hundreds of crystalline stalactites were as thick as a child's arm, while others were as sharp as upside-down mountain peaks, exuding a fierce aura. The strange stalactites were of different colors. Some were as red as blood, some were like purple crystals, and some were as blue as the sea. Some of the crystalline stalactites were in the shape of rippling blue waves, while others were like giant beasts swallowing clouds and spitting out mist. It could be said to be a spectacular sight, and all of them contained wonders. If one looked closely at many of the crystalline stalactites, they would find many slender, sparkling chains of light that were branded with the true meaning of life. At this moment, the dragon-slaying platform and his strange-looking sun spirit had been separated. The sun spirit formed by hundreds of crystalline stalactites floated above the dragon-slaying platform. Among them, the sharpest and incomparably long crimson crystal was the closest to the dragon-slaying platform. At the tip of the crystal, a crimson drop of water of the same color slowly condensed like a dewdrop. Finally, it landed on the dragon-slaying platform with a drip. At this moment, Yu Yuan shuddered violently, as if he had woken up from a long dream. He also saw a crimson drop of water pass through the dragon-slaying platform with rich life power. Then, it landed on the purple-gold dragon egg. The crimson drop of blood easily passed through the purple-gold dragon egg and entered the dragon heart of the cub. It seemed to have given this young Titanspinosaurus a small part of the mysteries of life. The cub let out a happy and nostalgic cry. Yu Yuan had seen it before. Even the supreme Titanspinosaurus back then did not understand the true meaning of life power when it was born. It went to the Origin Blood continent and offered its dragon heart. Only then did the mysterious thing underground of the Origin Blood continent give it the mysteries of life through sacrificial refining of the dragon heart. The 2 dragon eggs it left behind and the 2 cubs hatched from them were the same as it. They did not have the innate true meaning of life imprinted in the dragon heart. Just now, that drop of crimson blood had a small part of the essence of life power. The drop of blood turned into a very small bloodline crystal chain in the dragon heart of the giant beast. A hint of joy suddenly appeared at the corner of Yu Yuan's mouth. At this moment, he thought that even if the demonic phoenix snatched the other dragon egg from Taisher's hands, even if the cub hatched from the dragon egg fully grew up, it would only be an adult Titanspinosaurus. It would not be the supreme Titanspinosaurus. It still needs to refine the dragon heart and give it many powers related to the mysteries of life. I seem to be the only one who has the hope of transforming this cub into its strongest form. As for the demonic phoenix, unless it can also be favored by the mysterious thing underground of the Origin Blood continent like me, otherwise. Suddenly, a strange look appeared on Yu Yuan's face. His sun spirit, which was in a strange state, could clearly sense that the thing wrapped in extreme cold in the depths of the origin blood continent's earth core seemed to be quite similar to his sun spirit. However, the scale of the thing underground of the origin blood continent was thousands of times larger than his sun spirit. He also knew that that thing seemed to be very tired and had slowly fallen into a deep sleep. It seemed that because it had given him the true meaning of life, his sun spirit had undergone such a strange change. It had spent too much effort and strength to have no choice but to sleep. Sleeping was the most effective way for that thing to recover. And then, Yu Yuan found that he could sense the thing underground of the origin blood continent with his sun spirit at all times. And his realm, in a daze, had broken through to the freedom realm. He didn't even know if he had reached the Tao integration stage or how he had advanced to the freedom realm. Suddenly, he sensed the primal chaos Kuan and knew that it was rushing over in exasperation. But he was no longer afraid of the primal chaos Kuan. Chapter 1570. In the cold, starry sky, an enormous cyan fish covered in silver scales was galloping towards him. Wherever he passed, the water vapor in the numerous energies in the starry sky seemed to be affected by his bloodline and gathered on its own. After he disappeared, streams would quietly form in the starry sky. However, after a while, the trickling stream that had been formed because of him would slowly disappear. This was just him doing it subconsciously. It seemed that as long as he passed through the starry river, as long as there was water power in the chaotic starry sky, it would change and condense because of him. That was his innate divine ability, the true core of his bloodline. So the core bloodline of the primal chaos Kuan is also water in the starry sky. The laws of water and the heavenly Tao are the wonders that he was born with and imprinted in his heart from the beginning. As for the small part of the true meaning of life, it was only because he went to the primal blood continent and obtained some of its blessing. Yu Yuan took the dragon-slaying platform out of his dantian and held it gently in his hand. His perception was infinitely strengthened. From hundreds of millions of kilometers away, he saw the primal chaos Kuan and learned that the primal chaos Kuan's bloodline was the water of countless stars. No wonder the primal chaos Kuan was in the shape of a giant cyan fish. At this time, he wondered if Lulu, as the supreme expert of the laws of water in the Howran Great World, would have the power to fight the primal chaos Kuan if Lulu became a god? In his flesh aura mini-world, there was a dark cyan prismatic crystal hanging down from the strange yang spirit that looked like a crystal-like stalactite. Tiny lightning bolts crackled inside it. This dark cyan prismatic crystal seemed to have taken shape in his yang spirit after it had devoured the Qilin's heart. In the great marsh, when he had refined the Qilin's heart, he had found that the laws of thunder that the Qilin had comprehended had been erased by the demonic phoenix. Other than the rich blood power, there were no mysteries contained in the Qilin's heart. However, after he had received the gift of the mysterious object deep under the primal blood continent, and his yang spirit had been refined into this, a dark cyan prismatic crystal that corresponded to the Qilin's heart had appeared, and he had sensed some mysteries from it. I see. Yu Yuan sneered. He suddenly understood why the deep cyan prismatic crystal that corresponded to the Qilin gave him a familiar feeling when he captured the Chaos Kuan and saw the image of the Chaos Kuan through the dragon beheading platform. There was actually a faint aura of the Chaos Kuan in the dark cyan prismatic crystal that corresponded to the Qilin. The Qilin wasn't a giant space beast, and it was also too old. It was facing the problem of its lifespan reaching its end. The reason the Qilin was able to live until now was because it had absorbed a great deal of the Chaos Kuan's blood. In its early years, the Chaos Kuan had obtained some of the wonders of life on the primordial blood continent. It had fused them into its heart and formed many bloodline crystal chains that contained the true meaning of life. The giant beast essence amber that Yu Yuan had obtained was the blood essence of the Chaos Kun. It came directly from the innermost part of the heart, so it contained a part of the true essence of life. Although the Chaos Kun's blood wasn't as profound as blood essence and didn't contain the true meaning of life, it had the effect of prolonging life. The Qilin, who was nearing the end of its lifespan, obtained additional lifespan by sucking the blood of the Chaos Kun, so it could live for a long time. How pitiful, Yu Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. He didn't need to think too deeply to figure out that the Chaos Kun, which the demonic phoenix had imprisoned in the sea of starry ash, must have come to its door from time to time and forcibly drained its blood. The demonic phoenix had used the Chaos Kun's blood as a reward for demons who had made great contributions. The Qilin had always been loyal to her. Therefore, it had obtained a large amount of Chaos Kun's blood from her, and its lifespan had been prolonged time and time again. The reason why she hadn't touched the Chaos Kun's heart or the giant beast essence amber was probably because she wanted to derive enlightenment from it. She also knew that if the Chaos Kun had been deprived of drops of the giant beast essence amber, this star behemoth might have directly killed itself if it had been forced into a corner. Not long ago, in the domain of Firefly, Kadoras of the Radiance and the powerful experts of the Dark Spirits seemed to have come again while the Chaos Kun was seriously injured. Kadoras wanted to prolong his lifespan, and Brizette, who was seriously injured, needed the Chaos Kun's blood to recover. Moreover, they all seemed to know that the Chaos Kun's flesh contained such wonders. Thinking of how this star behemoth had been besieged by Kadoras and his experts from outer space, and how its flesh had been cut off piece by piece, Yu Yuan felt a bit sorry for this poor star behemoth. Titanspinosaurus was also a star behemoth, but it had obtained complete truths of life from the depths of the primordial blood continent. After its dragon heart had been refined, it had become the overlord of the star behemoths, an invincible existence. The Chaos Kun was also a star behemoth. By the time it had discovered the wonders of the primordial blood continent, the Yang Meridians had already settled there. Unlike Titanspinosaurus, it hadn't been able to obtain complete truths of life. Besieged by the Yang Meridians and countless blood devils, it had had to leave with serious injuries. However, it had also obtained a small amount of the truths of life, which had allowed its flesh to prolong its lifespan. However, the numerous Peak Outsider warriors and Howren demons from outer space had all been limited by their short lifespans, and didn't have endless lifespan. No one knew who had first learned that the Chaos Kun's flesh could prolong its lifespan. Yu Yuan almost laughed out loud. He could imagine what crazy things those powerful Peak Outsider warriors, Qilins, and ancient demons would do after learning that there was such a Chaos Kun in the Starry River that could prolong its lifespan. He estimated that Shura of Gojoseon before Sabonis, the Patriarchs of the Radiance and the Star Spirits before Kadoras and Baylor, and many other powerful outsiders would all pay attention to the Chaos Kun when they saw that their lifespans were about to run out. Then, they would search for the Chaos Kun all over the Starry River to cut its flesh. The scene that happened in the Firefly sector might have happened countless times in the previous eras. Those people only wanted to cut its flesh. Even if they had the ability to kill the Chaos Kun, they wouldn't have done so. They would have let it live and let it recover, so that they might be able to cut its flesh again in the future. That was until the domineering demon Phoenix appeared. She simply captured the Chaos Kun alive and held it in the starry ash sea. She monopolized the Chaos Kun, and in the following years, she was the only one who could cut its flesh. After a long time, the Chaos Kun in human form appeared with a skinny body. Its neck was covered in fish scales, and there were even fish bones on the back of its dry hands. Its eyeball, which had been gouged out, had been refined into a new crescent moon and turned into a white eye. The Chaos Kun with a gloomy expression and eyes full of brutality and cruelty looked the same as when Yu Yuan had seen it in human form for the first time at the bottom of the starry ash sea. Wearing a gray jacket, it was full of murderous aura, as if it hated all living things. Ha ha! Seeing the Chaos Koan in this form again after so many years, Yu Yuan finally couldn't help but laugh strangely. He already knew that this star behemoth had suffered miserably after obtaining a small part of the true meaning of life in the depths of the blood origin continent. The more he thought about it, the more he found it funny. "What are you laughing at?" the Chaos Koan shouted, trying to suppress his anger that was about to explode. "You're also a star behemoth, but the Titanspinosaurus has become the supreme overlord of this boundless starry river. Anyone who sees it has to avoid it. However, you've become a moving blood bank. Seeing that their lifespans are about to run out, they organize a hunt and weave a large, tight net to catch you in the starry river." Yu Yuan laughed so hard that he couldn't stop shaking. The Chaos Koan had crossed the boundless starry river to come here. As soon as he arrived, he knew that he was late. The wondrous creature under the blood origin continent had fallen into a deep sleep again, and Yu Yuan, who had arrived before him, had gained its favor and taken all the benefits. Now that he heard Yu Yuan reveal the truth, he couldn't help but sigh. His miserable experiences all these years were laid out in front of everyone's eyes. The frustration and anger in the skinny old man's heart that had been suppressed for tens of thousands of years suddenly burst out. He glared at Yu Yuan with one red eye and the other white eye and roared, "Go to hell! Ha ha! Ha!" Yu Yuan, however, laughed even louder. At this moment, he also realized that after the creature under the blood origin continent had awakened because of Enziching, only he and the Chaos Koan were worthy of its attention. Only he and the primal Chaos Koan would be able to receive blessings and gifts. However, the Chaos Koan had wandered to some unknown place. Even though it had hurried over, it was too late. That thing might need tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years to accumulate enough energy to cleanse and brand a living being with the true meaning of life. Therefore, after it had created him, it no longer had the energy to reward the Chaos Koan. Next time, it might be tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years later. The poor Chaos Koan had obtained part of the true meaning of life last time, which had made his flesh and blood become known to the world, but it had made his situation extremely miserable. After waiting for so long, that thing had finally awakened again, only to find that it had taken advantage of him, who had used the giant beast essence amber to create his life altar. "I'm talking to you nicely. Why are you scolding me?" Yu Yuan, who was holding the dragon beheading platform, had broken through to the freedom realm with the sublimation of his young spirit. He was no longer afraid when facing this miserable black carp again. He had a feeling that he now had the power to fight the level 10 digs, Ji Tianyu, Gu Xingkue and Zhu Jinqing. Of course, he still couldn't defeat the unusual creatures like Lin Dok and Tan Xiaotian. As for the Chaos Koan in front of him, after its flesh was cut in the Firefly Star Zone, it still hadn't recovered. In addition, he felt that his strange young spirit could still suppress the Chaos Koan at this moment. "It's really miserable. If I were you, I would rather not have obtained the mysteries of life that could prolong the lives of the 100 races." Yu Yuan clicked his tongue and sneered. A mighty star behemoth has been reduced to a mobile blood bank for a supreme expert. Not only that, but it's also trapped in the starry ash sea, where it can cut its flesh whenever it wants. "Ah, I think the reason you're still alive is because they still need you." Yu Yuan shook his head. "I'll fight you to the death." Being exposed, the Chaos Koan, who was ashamed and heartbroken, rushed over hysterically. Chapter 1571. Along the way, the primal Chaos Koan took many detours and hid its aura to take on various forms, for fear of being targeted. Finally, it saw Yu Yuan. After being provoked by Yu Yuan's words, It couldn't take it anymore and instantly went berserk. Furious, it suddenly revealed its true form as a giant beast. The tens of thousands of miles long fish was even larger than the Chi Sun realm that Yu Yuan was in. Looking at it from a closer distance, Yu Yuan found that its body was even wider than the lake in the Great Swamp, and there were tens of millions of such fish scales on its body. Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes and found that each scale of the primal chaos koan seemed to be an independent body of water. Splash! Splash! The sound of flowing water with a strange melody came from this part of the Starry River. Yu Yuan was surprised to see that the water power contained in the Starry River magics in the surrounding 100,000 miles suddenly grew infinitely stronger. He felt that the primal chaos koan seemed to have given the water magics a special ability, and they were pulling water power from other parts of the Starry River hundreds of millions of miles away. As a result, this part of the Starry River that the primal chaos koan had broken into instantly turned into a miraculous starry river. Countless winding rivers, lakes, and rivers appeared out of thin air in this miraculous region. Every drop of water seemed to contain a trace of the wonders of life. Water was one of the sources of life. This thought came to Yu Yuan's mind uncontrollably. He sensed it with his heart and knew that the enraged primal chaos koan had truly unleashed its core bloodline talents. As expected of a star behemoth, I underestimated you. Seeing the many flowing rivers, clear lakes, and rivers that carried rich water power rushing over in a mighty manner, Yu Yuan nodded slightly. He could also see that in the depths of those rivers and lakes, there were refined iron power, tiny starry river dregs, and some poisonous creatures. It seemed that the primal chaos koan also knew other bloodline talents and secret magics. Thinking about it, Yu Yuan realized that as a star behemoth, the chaos koan must have killed other star behemoths before, since it was still alive after such a long time. Just like Titanspinosaurus, there was an extremely bloody and chaotic era between the giant beasts. They attacked and killed each other to steal each other's bloodlines. The immortal bird had obtained the laws of death and destruction and developed them to be on par with her core bloodline. The primal chaos koan might be a little inferior, so the same kind he killed should also be weaker, and the bloodline talent was not outstanding enough. However, the fact that he was able to survive until now and find the origin blood continent meant that he was not as weak as he had imagined. Since his blood could prolong the lifespans of the various outsider experts, he was rather unlucky. The reason for that was because he had always been surrounded and attacked by various parties. Thus, the majority of his time was spent recuperating. Boom! Yu Yuan casually tossed out the dragon beheading platform in his hand. It instantly began to enlarge in the mystical waters formed by the chaos koan. The dragon-slaying platform, which was enveloped in a hazy white radiance, seemed to be expanding in the chaos. At this moment, it exuded a supreme majesty. It was as if there were giant dragons that had been imprisoned for thousands of years and suddenly appeared on the stage, letting out roars and roars of unwillingness. The long dragon beheading platform was enlarged billions of times in a very short time. Layers of 7-colored ripples, which contained the mysteries of twisting time and space, spread out from under the platform. In addition, clusters of extremely cold white mist spread out, causing many of the water droplets in the rivers formed by the primal chaos koan to be frozen, causing the flow of water to slow down. Then, the sharp end of the dragon beheading platform bloomed with blinding golden light. The long dragon-slaying platform stretched across the sky. Suddenly, it changed its direction and pierced toward the chaos koan below with a golden edge. Rip! Rip! The void was torn apart by the sharp light. Hundreds of dazzling spatial blades, accompanied by the golden light, stabbed at the primal chaos koan's back like hundreds of straight and sharp divine mountains. Blinding light instantly exploded from the primal chaos koan's back. On its back, the lakes, ponds, and deep pools in the scales, the rich water power hidden in them, and his blood aura, which contained the profound mysteries of water, were all destroyed. In pain, the primal chaos Kun bared his teeth and screamed, raising his head to bite the dragon beheading platform. Crack! A row of his imprints suddenly appeared on the indestructible dragon beheading platform. In his mouth, which was thousands of times larger than a giant whale, his sharp teeth were like metal saw-teeth. He loosened his mouth, changed his position, and bit down again. He wasn't stupid. He didn't bite the end of the golden dragon that was buried deep. He only bit the middle and the back of the platform. Those two parts weren't as strong as the golden end, so he could leave bite marks. He could also pour the water power he had condensed into the dragon beheading platform through the bite marks he left behind. A torrential rain fell inside the dragon beheading platform. Countless holes seemed to appear in the sky. At first, it was a dense rainstorm, then a rolling waterfall, and 100-meter-wide lake poured down. Woo woo! The primal chaos Kun, who was biting the dragon beheading platform, made strange noises while shaking his head. Compared to him, Yu Yuan, who was as small as a speck of dust, seemed to be negligible at this moment. He's really been stimulated to madness. Yu Yuan shook his head. What surprised him was that the primal chaos Kun's teeth were actually able to leave bite marks on the other two parts of the dragon beheading platform, and even create a small gap. Before the small gap could heal in time, it was watered by many rivers and lakes. This also confirmed his opinion that the primal chaos Kun wasn't as weak as he thought. It was just unfortunate that it often faced enemies several times its size. Or it faced Howren's most powerful demonic phoenix. Most of the time, it was in a seriously injured state. It's useless. As soon as the water power you poured into the dragon beheading platform seeped into it, the law of water related to you was directly extinguished and erased by the dragon beheading platform. Yu Yuan's expression was strange. The primal chaos Kun was too naive. He wanted to use endless water to drown the three small worlds in the dragon beheading platform and wash away the remaining power of the three dragon gods' corpses. In this way, he could weaken or directly destroy the dragon beheading platform. However, his idea was really unrealistic. Rise. With a thought, Yu Yuan's young spirit, which was hidden deep in the small world of qi and blood, immediately flew out. The young spirit appeared again, and it turned into the same form as his true body. It was not many crystal-like stalactites, nor was it the life altar. However, this young spirit that had left his true body was instantly enlarged with Yu Yuan's thought. In the blink of an eye, this young spirit was so tall that it could carry the sun and moon on its shoulders. The so-called sun and moon, one red and the other white, were the eyes of the primal chaos Kun. The two eyes were indeed formed after the real sun and moon that he had refined merged into his eye socket. Although they were not as big as the real sun and moon, they were not too far off. Yu Yuan's young spirit, which seemed to be made of countless divine crystals, gently reached out and held the sharp end of the dragon beheading platform that had not been bitten by the primal chaos Kun. His young spirit was unknowingly comparable to the primal chaos Kun. The back of his hand that was holding the dragon beheading platform was bigger than the Silver Moon Empire. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Thousands of streams of blood essence flowed like divine lightning in Yu Yuan's crystal-like young spirit body and poured into his palm that was holding the dragon beheading platform. He slowly exerted strength, grabbed the dragon beheading platform, and began to shake violently. Time and space suddenly became chaotic in the eyes of the primal chaos Kun. A mighty force that made him feel awe and familiar kept erupting from the dragon beheading platform. His teeth that were biting the dragon beheading platform quickly cracked, and blood began to flow from his mouth. His blood, which contained the essence of life and could extend the lifespan of 100 races, was poured above the dragon beheading platform. It mixed with his water essence and fell into the three small worlds of the dragon beheading platform. He howled and had no choice but to let go of his teeth and turn into a skinny old man of the human race again. He kept coughing up blood. What is that? Far away in Chi Sun realm, the white-robed imperial preceptor looked at the sea of stars that had turned into a magical body of water. He looked at the streams and rivers, and watched the primal chaos Kuan in the form of a giant beast of the starry sky, violently releasing the power of its bloodline. Suddenly, a Dharma idol that was beyond his imagination rose from the ground and stood in the sea of stars. The sun and moon were shoulder to shoulder, and the stars were like mud balls behind it. The distance of millions of miles in the sea of stars seemed to be crossed in a few steps. Zhou Sangmin was suddenly dumbfounded. The area that had turned into a magical body of water was actually very far from Chi Sun realm. However, the primal chaos Kuan in the form of a giant beast and the current Yu Yuan were too huge. Therefore, he still saw it. The primal chaos Kuan clearly did not go in the direction of Chi Sun realm. Otherwise, he would have seen it. He also knew that the primal chaos Kuan must have hidden for a while before it appeared in its giant beast form. It was only when the primal chaos Kuan suddenly appeared in its giant beast form that he saw it. At first, he was still a little confused. He thought that Yu Yuan should be nearby and prepared to search for traces of Yu Yuan. Then, an incomparably tall Yu Yuan was born just like that. Most human carefree realm cultivators could condense their Dharma idols. Everyone's Dharma idols were different, but many people's Dharma idols were similar to their own. The appearance of Yu Yuan's Dharma idol meant that he had stepped into the carefree realm. This was enough to shock Zhou Sangmin. What was even more shocking was that Yu Yuan's Dharma idol seemed to be just a manifestation of the Yang spirit and did not involve his true body. What shocked him the most was that Yu Yuan's Dharma idol was the same size as the primal chaos Kuan. Human Dharma idols rarely exceeded 10,000 meters. According to Zhou Sangmin's knowledge, only the primordial spirit of a human who had reached the highest level and obtained a deity position could break the balance of 10,000 meters when he summoned his Dharma idol again. The height of the demon race was measured in feet. Level 9 demon kings generally could not exceed 10,000 feet. Reaching the level of a demon god would often be able to break through this limit and have a primitive demon body that was 10,000 feet or even tens of thousands of feet. However, even the Dharma idols and primitive demon bodies of humans and demons could never reach the size of Yu Yuan's Dharma idol. Yu Yuan's Dharma idol was currently fighting with the largest beast in the galaxy. Its size was almost the same. What kind of concept was this? In history, the largest living creature of flesh and blood was the giant star beast that was gradually going extinct. That was an extraordinary existence that could easily be tens of thousands of miles long. It was a foreign species comparable to the stars, sun, and moon. Zhou Sangmin's mind was filled with questions. He involuntarily flew in the direction of the battlefield. Almost at the same time, on the other side of the dark galaxy, many blood demon experts were also alarmed by the battle between Yu Yuan and the primal chaos Kuan. They either turned into streaks of bloody light or condensed into a crimson sea of blood, all of them approaching. Chapter 1572. While the skinny Chaos Kuan was coughing up blood, his injuries were recovering rapidly, at a speed that even Yu Yuan found terrifying. The fish scales on his neck grew again in the blink of an eye. The wounds on his palms and back automatically absorbed the superpower in the starry sky and healed in a short time. His incomparably astonishing recovery ability was simply breathtaking. It seemed that as long as he was thrown anywhere with superpower, he would be able to recover all his strength sooner or later, even if he was in a deep sleep. Looking at him with rapt attention, Yu Yuan saw that a part of his flesh was wriggling under his skin, and was also reforming. This part of his flesh healed much slower than the fish scales and wounds. It should be his vital organs. This meant that he was indeed in a state of unhealed injury. Whoosh! Yu Yuan's enormous young spirit shrank bit by bit. He could clearly see that inside the heart of the Chaos Kuan, there were bloodline crystal chains that contained the true meaning of life exerting force at the same time. He immediately knew that those bloodline crystal chains were part of the mysteries of life that the Chaos Kuan had obtained from the underground of the primordial blood continent. The mysteries of life combined with the giant beast's abnormal self-healing ability made the Chaos Kuan so special. Without thinking, Yu Yuan knew that as long as the Chaos Kuan's heart didn't shatter and explode, he could refine it all again. The Chaos Kuan's internal organs, head, and bones could all be reconstructed as the heart swallowed abundant flesh and blood energy. In addition, Yu Yuan also noticed that there were even more magical bloodline crystal chains in the depths of the Chaos Kuan's heart. Those bloodline crystal chains seemed to contain the secrets of eternal life. He could understand it so thoroughly because he now had all the wonders of life that this star behemoth had. He still had what the Chaos Kuan didn't have. In an instant, he also realized a shocking fact. His strange young spirit could live forever. Even if his body withered and his soul and spirit were annihilated, his young spirit, which had been cleansed by the underground of the primordial blood continent, could live forever. In his young spirit, there were extremely special bloodline crystal chains that were the same as the Chaos Kuan's. You've easily gotten what I've been longing for. I'm so angry. The Chaos Kuan's red eyes and white eyes sparkled with ferocious and brutal light. Is it doing this on purpose? Is it deliberately trying to harm me? The Chaos Kuan, who had taken human form, suddenly looked at the deep darkness star system. His gaze seemed to be fixed on the origin blood continent. Why is the true meaning of life that was bestowed upon me so useless? What use is it to me if I can live forever with my lifeblood? I am a star behemoth. I was born to be immortal. He cursed and complained about his miserable fate, his resentment overflowing to the heavens. Things that I don't need at all, you imprinted in my heart, I can't even be bothered to comprehend them. However, once it is branded, my blood carries the power to extend the lifespan of all living beings. He was a step too late, and failed to receive the gift before Yu Yuan did, so he could no longer sense what was beneath the primordial blood continent. He also knew that it would be a long time before that thing woke up again, so he cursed endlessly. He couldn't have been more frustrated. However, Yu Yuan's expression gradually grew grim as he listened to his curses. Yu Yuan understood some things from his disjointed and somewhat disorderly words. Since the Chaos Kuan was born as a star behemoth, he wouldn't die naturally unless he was killed by an external force. He had obtained a part of the true meaning of life from the depths of the origin blood continent and imprinted it in his heart, giving him a few more bloodline crystal chains. These bloodline crystal chains naturally carried the true meaning of life, the most important of which was immortality with fleshly bodies. If the true meaning of life hadn't been bestowed upon the Chaos Kuan, a star behemoth, but had been bestowed upon the Shura of Gojoseon, the former High Chieftain of the Radiance, the strongest experts of the dark spirits and the demonesses, or the demon gods of the Hauran. If the dragons and demon gods of the Hauran had been bestowed with the ability to live forever with fleshly bodies, they would have laughed in their dreams. However, the Chaos Kuan didn't need the true meaning of life that had to do with fleshly bodies. He, who had an unlimited lifespan to begin with, hadn't tried to comprehend the true essence of life after it had been imprinted on him. He hadn't tried to comprehend its secrets. Instead, he had comprehended the part of it that sped up his healing process and reforged his internal organs and bones with rich flesh power. Many of the strongest experts from beyond the heavens only knew that his blood could prolong his lifespan, but didn't understand why. Because he was a star behemoth, and because he could live forever, everyone had overlooked the true meaning of life in the depths of his heart, where his flesh and blood could live forever. The young meridian of the origin blood continent knew this secret, and it had been yearning for this part of the true meaning of life. Once the young meridian was obtained, once it was thoroughly comprehended, it would only need to use it on the great demon god Garek, and perhaps this peak warrior of the blood demon clan would directly obtain eternal life. The other one who had discovered this secret was the demon phoenix of the Howran. After discovering this secret, the demon phoenix had imprisoned the Chaos Kuan under the Stardust Sea. She had extracted the Chaos Kuan's blood and given it to other demon gods as a reward. She herself had been comprehending the true meaning of life that had been imprinted in the Chaos Kuan's heart. Moreover, she had succeeded in comprehending the secret of fleshly bodies' immortality. The demon phoenix, like the Qilin, the ancient god of Golden Elephant, and the dragons of the Howran, had a limited lifespan. It was because she had comprehended the secret of immortality in the Chaos Kuan's heart that she had been able to stand at the peak of the Howran and become a great anomaly in the world. According to the Chaos Kuan, she, who had been a peak demon god, had been hunting star behemoths everywhere after obtaining immortality. Such a demon phoenix was actually equivalent to a demon god of the Howran, who had begun to transform into a star behemoth. She was not a star behemoth, but she had already obtained immortality. After killing many star behemoths, she had become even stronger than the star behemoths. Instead, she had become the nightmare of the star behemoths. The Chaos Kuan also said that he had traveled to outer space because he had sensed that the demon phoenix wanted to cut his flesh. It seemed that she wanted to use his flesh to raise something. He, who was deeply afraid of the demon phoenix, had hidden far away, afraid that he would be caught by the demon phoenix again and be cut from time to raise the demon phoenix's children. Listening to the Chaos Kuan's crazy words, Yu Yuan's expression gradually became strange. He also knew that after the demon phoenix had snatched the baby Titanspinosaurus from Taishur, it should have known that the growth of the baby beast required an astronomical amount of flesh and blood energy. Therefore, the demon phoenix thought of the Chaos Kuan again. At this time, Yu Yuan's mind moved slightly. He saw that the blood of the Chaos Kuan that had been sprinkled on the dragon beheading platform with the rivers and streams had indeed been injected into the purple-gold dragon egg. The baby Titanspinosaurus was greedily drinking the blood inside the dragon egg. It seemed to be very happy and satisfied. The blood of the Chaos Kuan contained abundant life essence. It was beneficial to any growing beast, including. Yu Yuan's mind shook, so he split his attention to look. As expected, even the frigid snow bear's child dug out a reservoir in front of him with his chubby little hands. The cyan blood of the primal Chaos Kuan was stored in it. From time to time, he would lie down and stretch his head out to drink a few mouthfuls. The snow bear's child also had an intoxicated expression and felt very happy. Yu Yuan couldn't help but sigh. "You're really a treasure." At this time, he saw many blood demons through the dragon beheading platform. They had been alarmed by his battle with the Chaos Kuan and were coming from the dark star field. Whoosh! His sun spirit returned to his body's chi and blood small world and turned back into crystal-like stalactite. There were a few crimson prismatic crystals in which blood-colored lightning suddenly became active. This blood-colored lightning was closely related to the blood demon race. He had refined the blood-colored crystal of the great demon god Grek. Then, it had been endowed with some new wonders by the underground of the origin blood continent. He multitasked and pondered with his sun spirit for a while, and then guessed the origin of the sun spirit had also obtained a part of the true essence of life from the underground of the continent. Therefore, it could create a new species, and it also gave the blood demons many talents to refine blood. This was also one of the branches of the true essence of life. The power obtained by the sun spirit was related to killing, so when its combat strength was increased, the blood demons also benefited. It was also because of this that it and the blood demons could occupy the origin blood continent and build this continent into their fortress, so that no one in the universe who wanted to covet the secret of the underground could succeed. Yu Yuan Zhou Tsangmin's call came from the direction of the Qi Sun realm. Are you also afraid of being targeted by the Sun Spirit and the great demon god Grek, so you transformed into a human? Yu Yuan pondered for a moment and said, that crimson full moon that contains the power of the Sun Spirit suddenly started to move. Let's go somewhere else first. Whether we continue to fight or do something else, we shouldn't stay here. The crimson full moon was an eye of the Sun Spirit, and now it was flying over with the blood demons. Yu Yuan had a feeling that the Sun Spirit might be able to transfer power from the depths of the origin blood continent to that crimson full moon at a certain price. The Sun Spirit that had created the blood demons was much more powerful than the void spirits and the fallen divine tree. Even the demonic phoenix was unwilling to enter the dark domain in person, which showed how extraordinary the Sun Spirit was. After it fell asleep again, it couldn't disturb the senses of the Sun Spirit, so the origin of the Sun Spirit must have sensed something wrong. The primal chaos Kuan let out a cold harumph. Upon hearing this, Yu Yuan immediately realized that the reason why he had been able to establish a connection with the being in the depths of the origin blood continent through the blood pool in Enziching's true form was because the being in the depths of the earth spirit had gone to great lengths to conceal the spiritual perception of the origin of the Sun Spirit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to do it so smoothly. Now that the being in the depths of the origin blood continent had fallen asleep, it couldn't continue to conceal itself from the heavenly mysteries of the origin blood continent. Plus, his battle with the primal chaos Kuan had caused a great commotion. Yu Yuan gave him a hard look. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why should I say so earlier? I couldn't wait for one of you to die first. Chapter 1573. While the primal chaos Kuan was clamoring, it was also looking at the domain of darkness and paying close attention to the crimson full moon. Apparently, it was also wary of the source of the Yang bloodline, and didn't want to stay for long. Its knowledge of the Yang bloodline far surpassed Yu Yuan's. It knew that once it entered the domain of darkness, it would enter the range of the Yang bloodline's bloodline force field. It was almost impossible to completely suppress the Yang bloodline and exterminate the blood devils in the domain of darkness. The supreme demonic phoenix of Howren had a similar bloodline power to the Yang bloodline. All the great demons, including the peak-level warriors from beyond the heavens, as long as they had bloodlines as their main source of power, would feel that they were heavily restricted when facing the demonic phoenix in the vast sea. It was because the demonic phoenix controlled Howren's bloodline power that she could comprehend the secrets of immortality through the primal chaos Kuan. Aside from her, the source of the Yang bloodline on the primordial blood continent would also be able to obtain the secrets of immortality if it captured the primal chaos Kuan alive. Yu Yuan, who was just about to withdraw, held the dragon beheading platform in his hand and increased his vision by thousands of times, and saw the strange scene on the surface of the crimson full moon. The surface of the moving crimson full moon was as dark red as the primordial blood continents. The difference was that there were countless pools of different sizes above the crimson full moon. Those pools were somewhat similar to the 7 blood pools in Enziching's flesh aura pocket world, but instead of being made of purple crystals, they were made of rocks on the moon's surface. Looking down from above, one would find that there were countless bowl-like pools of blood on the crimson full moon. They looked bumpy and uneven, giving off an indescribably strange feeling. At this moment, blood gradually appeared at the bottom of many of the pools. Yu Yuan felt that the source of the Yang bloodline was transferring some of its bloodline power from the primordial blood continent to the crimson full moon. However, this process couldn't be completed overnight. It would take time. All the blood devils that were illuminated by the crimson light of the crimson full moon felt their blood boil, as if their fighting spirit had been ignited, and they were given frenzied fighting strength. However, Yu Yuan felt that he could break the crimson full moon's control over the blood devils. He could cut off the connection between the Yang bloodline and the blood devils before the blood power of the source of the Yang bloodline could be transferred. Yu Yuan. In the direction of Qi Sun realm, the white-robed Grand Preceptor Zhou Tsangmin appeared and flew over like a fiery meteor. The primal chaos Kuan roared fiercely, but when it saw the crimson full moon rapidly approaching and the numerous blood devils charging towards it like locusts, its eyes flickered. He then looked at Qi Sun's territory and looked at Zhou Tsangmin. His mood became increasingly gloomy. He didn't know if there were any Howrens experts in Qi's realm. Now that Zhou Tsangmin had appeared and seen him, it was possible that he had spread the news, which might lead to the arrival of the white heavenly tiger or the demonic phoenix. The primal chaos Kuan was very uneasy. He looked around, thinking of a way out. Rumble! Rumble! Ancient starships took off from the realms of the domain of dark stars. Yu Yuan even saw mutant demons above them. I don't see the great demonic god Grek. The power of the Yang bloodline hasn't been transferred to the full moon either. Yu Yuan muttered. In the next moment, he thrust the dragon beheading platform forward. A golden beam of light that seemed to be hundreds of thousands of kilometers long shot out of the sharp end of the dragon beheading platform. Sizzling sounds came from within the beam of light, and many tiny, seven-colored dragon shadows appeared. Just like that, a miraculous golden bridge came into being between the domain of deep darkness and Yu Yuan. The dragon beheading platform was still right under the primal chaos Kuan's nose, but Yu Yuan was walking towards the domain of dark stars step by step on the golden divine bridge, like a god from ancient times. Every step he took was 10,000 kilometers of space. The primal chaos Kuan stared blankly at the dragon beheading platform he had left here. Yu Yuan had entered the domain of dark stars and walked towards the blood demons that were almost driven mad by the crimson full moon. Starships. Yu Yuan, who suddenly appeared in the domain of dark stars, grinned viciously and summoned the blood prison of Gendo. Blood-red blade auras fell from the blood prison of Gendo. In the center of those 1,000-meter-long celestial river battleships, a cluster of blood-red lightning balls suddenly exploded, shooting out many bright red blade light. Thousands of blade auras devoured the starships of the blood demons like a school of cruel and bloodthirsty fish. Bang! Crack! More than a dozen starships of the blood demons were reduced to debris in the blink of an eye. Many 7th and 8th level blood demons, as well as some mutant monsters imprisoned in the cabins, were all reduced to a rain of blood. With a smile on her face, Yu Yuan appeared in the rain of blood like a ghost. As soon as he appeared, the rain of blood in the sky suddenly froze in a strange way. Then, countless drops of blood merged with each other and condensed into pure crimson blood aura, which was devoured by the Gendo in his hand. He narrowed his eyes and smiled. He found that the mysteries of blood and the blood demons that had died here in an instant turned into many sparks of memory and appeared in his Yang spirit, which was like a crystal-like stalactite, in his middle dantian, and imprinted on the crimson prismatic crystals. As soon as the shallow mysteries of blood entered the prism crystal, his Yang spirit understood them and learned the rules inside. However, most of the sparks of blood had already been imprinted in the crimson prismatic crystals. The great demon god Garek was a hero of the great Tao of blood. He had already comprehended many secrets of blood. When Yu Yuan had fused with his blood-colored crystals, he had digested most of the mysteries of blood he had comprehended. There were traces left behind. Yu Yuan. The enormous blood-colored shadows behind Mink of the blood demon race suddenly materialized. Some of them became warriors of the giant spirit race, some turned into shiny silver platinum Azuras, and some turned into demon kings of the Howran race. All of a sudden, the blood slaves he had refined scattered and rushed towards Yu Yuan from different directions. He didn't rush to attack. He even motioned for the other clansmen who were at the same level as him to not rush over. He felt that something was wrong. After so many years, Yu Yuan, who had returned to the domain of darkness, had shattered more than a dozen starships of the blood demon race and killed hundreds of clansmen. What made him uneasy was that the dead clansmen were clearly in the domain of darkness and illuminated by the crimson full moon. But why wasn't the blood essence of the dead clansmen injected into the blood pool in the full moon? Monk, who was also highly regarded by the origin of the Yang bloodline, knew that as long as the blood demon clansmen died in battle in the domain of darkness and were illuminated by the full moon, they weren't completely dead. The origin of the Yang bloodline would keep their blood imprints and choose those who had potential and value to be resurrected. Because of this, all the blood demons didn't fear death in the domain of darkness. The foreign races and enemies of the blood demon race who dared to invade the domain of darkness and fight the blood demon race usually didn't have the upper hand. It was because the blood demons couldn't be killed in the domain of darkness, and they might not be able to truly kill them. On the other hand, the outsiders who died in the dark domain would strengthen the power of the Yang bloodline, allowing their creators to obtain more blood power. Previously, Howran had charged in mightily because of the deaths of King Wei Ling and ancient god Golden Elephant. However, they had fallen into the hands of the origin of the Yang bloodline and the great demon god Grek. In that fierce battle both sides seemed to have suffered casualties, but after Howran's experts retreated, all the blood demons felt the joy of the Yang bloodline. They felt that the origin of the Yang bloodline in the depths of the origin blood continent was full of blood power. Even the crimson full moon looked even more dazzling when they looked at it again. This was the reason why the blood demons weren't afraid of foreign invaders. However, when the dark star field was invaded, they would still ask for help from other sky devils and other alien races. This was because as long as it was a creature that died in the dark galaxy, their creator would benefit from it. The strength of the entire race would also become stronger due to the strengthening of the origin of the Yang bloodline. However, after Yu Yuan came and slaughtered those clansmen, Menk discovered a scene that overturned his understanding. The blood power of the dead clansmen didn't return to the origin of the Yang bloodline, but it wasn't as simple as being swallowed by Yu Yuan's Gendo blood prison. He felt that because Yu Yuan was here, he had forcibly affected the power of the creator of the crimson full moon, causing the original circulation of the law of blood to stagnate. Howran's Qilin was something that even the strongest experts in the universe and the Chaos Kuan couldn't do. Menk had never seen such a strange thing. I still remember that you're a blood demon older than Grek. Yu Yuan grinned and asked casually, "Where's Grek?" "I'm already in the domain of darkness, but he didn't come to welcome me?" Many years later, Yu Yuan didn't even need to use the dragon beheading platform to face this old blood demon again. He suddenly realized that due to the great improvement of his sun spirit and the creation of the origin blood continents underground, his combat strength had indeed risen to a new level. In the universe, the so-called peak warriors ranked at the bottom would probably be unable to defeat him. Chapter 1574. There were many other realms in the dark domain other than the origin blood continent. The blood devils weren't the only ones who lived here. There were also the crypt race, the fire lizard race, and a small number of moonlight people and silver scale people. As the crimson full moon released its light, it became even more demonic and frightening. The non-blood demon clansmen were all shocked. The gazes of those who stared at the crimson full moon from their realms gradually faded. Many rank 7 warriors of the fire lizard race and the crypt race stared at the crimson full moon for a while before their gazes faded. The rich blood energy in their bodies disappeared without them realizing it. Usually, when they realized that something was wrong, it was the moment they were about to die. In the vast dark domain, non-blood devils with high bloodlines kept dying in many realms. This was very abnormal and very strange. However, the blood demon clansmen who were illuminated by the crimson full moon felt warm and comfortable. Their blood flowed faster, and the power hidden in their bloodlines seemed to be awakened by the moonlight. They became excited, as if they had received an external force and wanted to release it. There was also a voice in the depths of their souls that guided them to naturally approach Yu Yuan and kill Yu Yuan. This feeling is familiar, seeing the enormous blood shadows that Menk had refined pouncing on them from all directions, each of them several thousand meters tall. Yu Yuan muttered in a low voice. At this moment, he suddenly remembered the scene many years ago when Enziching had set up the blood sacrifice formation in Dark Moon City to prepare for her junior brother's breakthrough. The hazy blood-red canopy filled the sky, intending to kill all the mortals and cultivators in Anua City in one fell swoop. Starting from the cultivators, the higher their cultivation, the more affected they would be and the first to die. Once all the cultivators were dead, it would be the mortals' turn to sacrifice their blood to the array, making the blood-red color of the blood sacrifice array even thicker and making Enziching even more powerful. Right now, the crimson full moon in the dark star region was exerting a power similar to the blood sacrifice formation, but it far surpassed the blood sacrifice formation. He could sense that any non-blood demon clansman who noticed the strangeness of the crimson full moon in the dark star field would start to die. At the same time, the crimson moon grew brighter. The blood devils scattered around him seemed to have received the blessings of a god. The blood energy in their bodies had greatly increased. The increase in their blood power came from the deaths of non-blood devils and the sacrifices they had made. The other outsider races living in your domain of dark starry river are really pitiful. Perhaps they thought that with the blood devils watching over them, they wouldn't be killed by other experts or targeted by Howren's great cultivators. But I didn't know that when your creator truly needed it. Yu Yuan shook his head, sympathizing with the other alien races in the dark star area. They can only be the sacrificial offerings. A great demon shrouded in dark red mist several thousand meters tall roared. His eyes seemed to burn with bright red ghost fire, and they were filled with violence and cruelty. Boom! It was an enormous tiger covered in wounds, its flesh torn to the point that its bones could be seen clearly. It should be of the same race as the heavenly tigers of Howren. It should have died in battle at Mink's hands and been refined into a blood thrall. While it was roaring, the sound of metal clashing came from the space beside Yu Yuan. Vaguely, Yu Yuan also saw an army of spirit beasts, which was composed of tiger beasts, guarding a dead star. The colorful demon tigers were as strong as mountains. They were agile and fierce as they tore at the warriors of the Azura race, the Blood Devil race, and the Silver Scale race. The cruel and bloody war took place in a passing era. The demon tigers were covered in wounds, but they were fearless and fought to the end. This demon army was completely annihilated. The leader was killed by Menk and became one of his blood thralls. Let me set you free. Yu Yuan sighed in his heart. He knew that the reason why Hao Chang was able to enjoy such a prosperous era, to be respected by the races in outer space, and to have such a high status, was built on the foundation of the deaths of countless tiger demon troops like this one. If they were careless and died at the hands of Menk and the Blood Devils, they wouldn't be able to rest in peace. They would still be refined into blood thralls. The tip of Gendo's blood prison was pointed at the bloody demon tiger that was several thousand meters tall. Yu Yuan could see that its demon soul was filled with blood. There were many bloody sparks that didn't belong to it, and they carried Menk's aura. When he looked closer, he could see many blood imprints. Those were slave imprints. It was the method Menk used to control the demon tigers. Menk used his blood to weave puppet strings and enslave the demon tigers forever. Explode. With a slight movement of his mind, hundreds of bloody lights flew out from the demon blade, pouring down like heavy rain, sprinkling towards the demon tiger. The hundreds of bloody lights he released fell into the demon tiger's battered body and destroyed the evil life force hidden inside. The demon tiger stopped in midair. The blood slave imprints and Menk's consciousness that Menk had imprinted on it were found and destroyed by the saber light. Menk snorted, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. But in that instant, he felt that under the crimson full moon, he had received the support of a vast amount of blood energy and was healed instantly. The Azura race, the Silver Scale race, and the Star race, Yu Yuan muttered softly. He didn't summon his Dharma idol. He just held Gendo's blood prison and shook it out, shooting out rays of bloody light that looked like rainbows. At times, it looked like a river of blood that ran through the sky, and at other times, it looked like a ferocious dragon that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Gendo's blood prison was especially good at dealing with foreign races like the blood demons. Yu Yuan could instantly identify the weakness of any blood slave with a single glance. The moment the saber light appeared, the blood slaves refined by Menk and the other blood demons exploded one after another. But all of the blood slaves killed by Yu Yuan couldn't return to the origin of the yang vein or enter the crimson full moon in the sky. They were all absorbed into Gendo. Gendo could be said to have eaten its fill. If this saber continues to slaughter like this, it will eventually become a divine weapon. Yu Yuan grinned. He didn't care about Menk or the rank 9 blood demons present at all. When he killed the blood slaves, it was to feed Gendo. Suddenly, a trace of vigilance appeared in his heart. He looked at the crimson full moon above his head, and his expression gradually became serious. The nobles of the blood demon race like Menk also sensed it at this moment. They all looked at the full moon above their heads. On the surface of the full moon, there was an enormous pool that looked like a bowl. Bloody bubbles bubbled out. A person slowly stood up from the bottom of the thick, bright red blood water. It was a woman. After coming out of the pool of blood, she slowly rose into the air. Her beautiful face released a demonic luster. Her long eyelashes trembled as if she was using a lot of effort to open her eyes. The eyes deep in her eye sockets shone with scarlet light like the crimson full moon below her. Whoosh! Her graceful figure suddenly expanded rapidly, becoming even larger than the demonic tiger that had just exploded. She became a bloody demonic figure that was only one size smaller than the full moon. All of the blood demon clansmen looked at the bloody demonic figure with astonishment in their eyes. Her name is Enziching. Not long ago, I brought her in to kowtow to our creator. I didn't think that she would become a rank 9 demon god so quickly. She, with the mysteries of the human race's Tao integration, is in line with our god. She is now one of us, almost no different from us, Menk said in a solemn tone. He didn't need to explain too much. The rank 9 blood demons like him sensed the same aura from the bloody demonic figure and Ziching had transformed into. It was the aura of their own kind, no matter what she was in the past. After being baptized by the origin of the yang vein and acknowledged, she was now a true blood demon. Whoosh! Yu Yuan, who was surrounded by Menk and the others, instantly returned to one end of the golden bridge due to her appearance. The other end was connected to the dragon-slaying platform, which was outside the Dark Star realm. Standing on the golden bridge, Yu Yuan could borrow the power of the dragon-slaying platform to see more clearly. Sigh. He sighed softly, his emotions complicated. And Ziching, who had transformed into a bloody demonic figure above the crimson full moon, felt unfamiliar to him. He realized that Ziching, like him, had broken through to the Freedom Realm at almost the same time. And Ziching's young spirit had transformed into a true blood demon. Now she was a genuine rank 9 demon god, and in perfect harmony with the yang vein. And Ziching was getting stronger and stronger, but the bond between her and him had disappeared completely. At this moment, Anzicheng's eyes were filled with coldness. There was no longer the teasing or hidden emotions she used to have. However, hadn't he encouraged her and Anwen to go to outer space to search for the origin of the Yang vein and pursue the pinnacle of the Great Tao? Anwen's departure had finally angered the demonic phoenix. It had first sent the Qilin, and then the demonic phoenix had personally killed Anwen. That was why Anzicheng had stepped onto the origin blood continent without hesitation. She had merged with the Yang vein and started to pursue her own great Tao of blood. Back then, when he had encouraged her and Anwen to leave Howren, shouldn't he have expected this day to come? Why did he feel regret? Perhaps it was because the look in Anzicheng's eyes was no longer the same as before. Yu Yuan sighed softly. Then, step by step, he left the domain of darkness along the golden bridge and slowly disappeared from the eyes of the blood demons. He also disappeared under the gazes of Anzicheng and the crimson full moon. The last time he had left the domain of darkness, he had needed to activate the full power of the dragon-slaying platform and the true soul of his first life. After that, all of his power had been exhausted, and he had almost become a mortal. This time, he stepped on the golden pillar of light that shot out of the dragon-slaying platform with ease. Countless blood strings that were invisible to the naked eye attempted to restrain him, but the magical laws of blood within them couldn't do anything to him. No one in this world could ignore those magical laws of blood and walk so calmly like he did. Not even the demonic phoenix. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.